My beloved child, pause your thoughts and lean in, because what I am about to unveil to you carries the weight of a divine warning and a divine awakening. Get ready. This revelation will shake you is not just a title. It is the description of the moment you are standing in right now. I am calling you to attention because the truths I am preparing to reveal will confront what you've ignored, illuminate what you've questioned, and stir what has been sleeping inside you for far too long. Listen closely, your spirit is about to be shifted. Listen to me now, beloved, because what I am about to say is not casual, not ordinary, and not distant. I am speaking directly into the part of you that has been secretly crying out for more. You have wondered if I truly see you, if I truly hear you, if I truly know what is happening inside you. And I tell you this, I have been watching every breath, every sigh, every unspoken fear, every hidden hope. I am closer to you than the thoughts in your own mind, and I am inviting you in this very moment to lean in, to look past the noise, to listen not with your natural ears, but with your spirit. You feel it already, don't you? A stirring, a gentle trembling inside that tells you something is shifting, something is coming, something is about to break open over your life. This is not your imagination. It is my spirit awakening you to a new level of awareness. I am not just giving you another comforting word. I am summoning you into a revelation that will not leave you the same. You have said, Lord, I want to know you more, and I have heard you. But to know me more is not just to feel me more. It is to see differently, to think differently, to live differently. So I am calling you now to draw near in a way you have not drawn near before, not with hurried prayers, not with distracted attention, but with a willing surrender of your focus, your heart, your time, your expectations. I want you to sit with me in this moment as if the whole world has gone silent and it is just you and me, because in my eyes, that is exactly how I see you. Singled out, deeply known, profoundly loved. You have been surviving on fragments of peace, bits of strength, flashes of clarity, and I am saying to you now, I want to pour something much deeper into you. But revelation is not entertainment. It is transformation. When I reveal, I uproot. When I reveal, I reorder. When I reveal, I realign what you thought was settled and expose what you did not even know was broken. This is why I ask you to come closer, to trust me with what you don't understand yet. There are things you have been carrying, questions, confusions, disappointments, that you have tucked away because you assumed there would never be answers. But I am breaking open that silence. I am inviting you into a conversation that reaches into the core of who you are. I want you to feel the weight and tenderness of my words like a hand on your shoulder, like a warm light in a dark room. Do not rush past this. Do not treat this as just another moment. I am preparing your heart because what I am about to unveil will shake you, not to destroy you, but to awaken you. Shake you out of spiritual numbness. Shake you out of small thinking. Shake you out of the lies you have unconsciously agreed with. I am beginning a journey with you in these words, a journey where every sentence is me knocking on a door inside you, asking, will you let me in here too? I am not ashamed of your doubts, not intimidated by your wounds, not surprised by your fears. I am the one who has walked beside you through every memory, every failure, every secret struggle. And now, my child, as you listen, I stretch my hand toward you, not the hand of a distant judge, but the hand of a father who is about to show you why you were made, why you survived, why you are still here. Get ready inside. Open your heart wide. I am here, and this is only the beginning of what I am about to reveal to you. You sense something rising inside you, and I want you to recognize that this inner motion is not random. It signals a turning point, and you have felt it for longer than you admit. You catch yourself pausing in moments when you cannot explain why, moments when your spirit seems to brace itself, as though it is preparing for something not yet visible. Its sensation is the whisper of unfolding purpose, reaching into places within you that have been dormant for years. You have noticed how your old ways of coping no longer satisfy you, how familiar patterns feel tighter than they used to, and how you find yourself longing for clarity you cannot quite define. These stirrings reveal that you are entering a phase of new awareness, and your heart has been quietly shifting to receive what you had no language for. The uneasiness you sometimes feel is simply the stretching of your inner capacity to hold deeper truth. I am guiding you through a transition from surface-level understanding toward the depth you have prayed for in private moments when you wondered if your life had more meaning than what you could see. Treat this inner stirring as a sign of awakening rather than confusion. You are becoming more alert to the unseen currents that shape your path. This is why certain thoughts linger, why new questions form, and why ideas emerge at unexpected times. You are being drawn into alignment with a greater purpose, and that purpose calls for expanded perception. I speak to you now so that you can stop doubting the validity of what you feel. You are not imagining the tension inside you. It is evidence of transformation beginning from the inside out. Many of the emotions you struggle to explain are actually invitations for you to open yourself to the revelation that is approaching. I am helping you recognize that your intuition is sharpening, your discernment is strengthening, and your spirit is awakening to a reality your mind is only beginning to grasp. This stirring prepares you to receive what cannot be understood through logic alone. It is the starting point of seeing life from a higher vantage point, where fear loses influence and clarity becomes more constant. Trust this inner movement, for it carries you toward understanding that will reshape not only how you think, but how you live. Let it draw you closer to me with honesty and expectancy, for what is coming will require your heart to be awake, steady, and receptive. You are not being unsettled, you are being positioned. Let me bring you deeper now, because the next step in this journey requires your attention in a way you have rarely offered before. You have been pulled in many directions: expectations, responsibilities, memories, obligations, and the voices of others that have shaped you more than you realize. I am inviting you to move beyond all these influences so you can hear what rises above the noise. Your mind has been filled with opinions, assumptions, and interpretations that do not reflect my intention for you, and this is why clarity has felt distant. Every time you attempted to quiet yourself long enough to listen, distractions pressed in with greater force. This is not a sign of failure. It is simply the impact of living in an environment that constantly demands your attention. But now, I am calling you to a different frequency, one that requires stillness and focus. In this place, the noise loses its authority. You begin to notice subtle impressions that you used to overlook. Certain thoughts will no longer cloud your judgment as easily, because you will start discerning the source behind them. I want you to approach me not as a distant presence, but as someone genuinely invested in your well-being. I am speaking to you personally, drawing you toward a deeper awareness of my guidance in your daily life. Through this awareness, you will learn how to recognize what is meant for you and what does not belong. When the world pulls you one way and your spirit leans another, you will be able to tell the difference instead of feeling overwhelmed. This inner shift allows you to make decisions with confidence rather than hesitation. It frees you from the pressure to perform, allowing you to grow at the pace intended for you. As you begin to hear me beyond the noise, an inner balance emerges, helping you navigate challenges with greater clarity. You will no longer feel as though you are moving without direction. Instead, you will sense alignment forming within you. Pay attention to this quiet space I am creating in your heart, because it is here that the revelation ahead will take root. This moment is not about retreating from life. It is about learning how to listen in a way that strengthens you for what comes next. Your spirit is being prepared to receive the understanding that has been reserved for this very time in your journey. There is something you must understand now, because it will release weight you have carried for far too long. Those seasons when you felt unheard were not reflections of my absence. They were moments of preparation, shaping you in ways that could not be rushed. You believed you were being ignored when in truth, you were being refined. Your prayers did not disappear into emptiness. They settled into a process you could not witness with your natural eyes. Every unanswered question, every quiet night, every moment when you wished for immediate direction, none of it was wasted. You often assumed silence meant nothing was happening, but transformation rarely announces itself while it works. Your heart needed time to heal from experiences you buried without realizing they still influenced you. If answers had come too quickly, they would have been swallowed by old patterns. I use that silence to strengthen your foundation, because what I am preparing to reveal requires stability within you. This stability forms through patience, through the slow reshaping of your inner world, through moments when you felt alone, but were actually watched over with great care. I have been attentive to your growth even when you doubted your own progress. The reason clarity was withheld was not to frustrate you, but to prevent you from settling for premature conclusions. Your life is more intricate than you give yourself credit for, and the timing of each revelation matters. In the quiet seasons, your resilience increased, your perception sharpened, and your capacity expanded. These shifts are subtle, but they form the foundation for the understanding you are about to receive. Trust that the years you questioned were not wasted time but essential preparation. Everything you endured has equipped you for deeper insight, and now you are ready to experience what the silence was shaping within you. You have carried questions in your heart about why certain moments in your life unfolded slowly, and I want you to look at those delays from a different angle. Instead of viewing them as obstacles, consider how each one created room for circumstances to align in ways you could not have orchestrated. When you desired quick results, you often did not realize how many unseen pieces were still shifting into their proper places. The path you walk interacts with the lives of others, and the timing of every connection matters. I shaped these interactions so they would serve your growth rather than hinder it. Delayed outcomes allowed you to mature, gain perspective, and discover new layers of resilience. You were not kept waiting as a punishment. The waiting shielded you from choices that would have created unnecessary burdens. Think back to the opportunities that seemed ideal but slipped through your grasp. If they had arrived before you were prepared, their weight would have worn you down. I allowed certain things to pause, not to discourage you but to protect you from responsibilities that could have drained your strength. The delay created space for you to develop qualities that were essential for the future you wanted. You learned patience, discernment, and courage during seasons when answers did not come quickly. These qualities now serve as anchors, helping you remain steady when life becomes unpredictable. Many of the situations that frustrated you actually saved you from paths that would have taken you far from your purpose. I intervened quietly, guiding you away from places where disappointment would have grown deeper. Delays also helped you recognize your own desires more clearly. Whenever you waited longer than expected, the time allowed you to question what mattered most. You learned how to distinguish between temporary cravings and long-term purpose. That clarity guides you now, helping you choose relationships, commitments, and opportunities that align with your inner values. Every delay shaped the foundation of your future, making room for deeper fulfillment. The alignment you needed went beyond circumstances. It involved the alignment of your heart with your calling. You often grow in silence, developing endurance and wisdom that cannot be rushed. These qualities prepare you for decisions that carry significant consequences. I ensured that your timing matched your readiness. Because I care about more than the outcome, I care about your well-being within the outcome. Trust that the delays were not wasted time. They were shifts in direction that kept your life aligned with the purpose that has always been yours. There is something important you need to understand about the moments when doors closed unexpectedly before you had a chance to step through them. Although those times felt like rejection, they were actually acts of protection. Not every opportunity would have supported your growth, and not every person you hoped to walk with had the capacity to value your journey. When a door closed, it prevented you from entering situations that would have weighed your spirit down. I guided you away from environments where your gifts would have been overlooked, misused, or drained. You often learned the value of this protection only after time revealed what you were spared. Closed doors softened disappointments that could have escalated into deeper emotional or spiritual wounds. Many of the paths you hoped for led to destinations that would have distracted you from opportunities designed specifically for your growth. These doors closed to keep you aligned with experiences that would strengthen your character rather than weaken your confidence. Some connections were removed because they could not support the transformation taking place within you. Their presence would have slowed your progress, influencing your decisions in ways that conflicted with the direction your life is meant to take. I closed those doors to prevent unnecessary battles, misunderstandings, and unhealthy attachments that would have entangled your heart. You do not always see the full picture when you stand in the moment, but when you look back, you begin to notice how each closed door ultimately guided you toward something better. These restrictions shaped your resilience and helped you recognize your worth more clearly. You became more intentional in your relationships, more selective with your time, and more aware of what you accept into your life. The protection within closed doors has allowed you to choose from a place of strength rather than desperation. You learned how to move on without losing hope. You discovered how to hold your head high when circumstances did not unfold the way you expected. These insights refined your judgment, enabling you to approach future decisions with greater clarity. Closed doors are not failures. They are boundaries set in place to safeguard your journey. They keep you from settling for less than what aligns with your purpose. Every door that shut carried a purpose. It did not hinder your life. It redirected you away from unnecessary pain. Accepting this truth frees you from regret and opens your heart to new possibilities shaped for your future. There were stretches of your life when a deep sense of emptiness settled inside you, and this feeling often made you question your direction, your relationships, or your sense of purpose. You assumed something was wrong with you or that you were missing some critical part of life. What you did not realize was that the emptiness served an essential purpose. Certain beliefs, habits, and attachments needed to loosen their hold on you to create room for new understanding. The space that formed within you was not a void. It was preparation for something greater. When you felt uprooted, you were being cleared from patterns that no longer aligned with your growth. These shifts occurred beneath the surface, creating the emotional and spiritual capacity required for new experiences. Emptiness taught you how to sit with yourself without needing external validation. You discovered the ability to hear your own thoughts more clearly and distinguish the quiet movements of your spirit. This clarity would not have emerged if your life had remained crowded by noise, pressure, and expectations. The emptiness carved room for growth, allowing you to receive insights and opportunities that once overwhelmed you. I allowed certain relationships to fade so your heart could heal without constant strain. I removed habits that drained your energy, creating room for healthy rhythms. I cleared away distractions to help you focus on the deeper parts of your identity that had been overlooked. As this space opened within you, your strength increased. You began noticing what truly mattered and what no longer served your well-being. You learned how to appreciate peace more deeply, recognizing it as something worth protecting. Though the emptiness felt uncomfortable, it pushed you toward maturity, teaching you how to give yourself the care you once expected from others. As new insights filled the space, you became more grounded. Your choices grew wiser, your expectations more balanced, and your understanding of yourself more complete. This prepared you for opportunities that require courage and clarity. Space is essential for receiving new things, and emptiness was that space being made for you. Even now, the areas within you that once felt hollow are being filled with strength, wisdom, and renewed direction. There is something stirring around you that your natural senses cannot fully grasp, and I want you to understand what this means for your journey. You often rely on what you can observe, measure, and confirm, but many of the most significant movements in your life begin long before they become visible. You sense impressions, questions, and moments of quiet intuition rising within you, and these are not random impulses. They are signals that you are being guided toward a deeper awareness. Your spirit recognizes shifts long before your mind can interpret them. This is why certain situations no longer feel the same, even though nothing external has changed. Your perception is expanding, preparing you to engage with a reality that requires trust rather than proof. When you focus solely on what your eyes can observe, your understanding becomes limited by circumstances. But when you allow your heart to acknowledge what your spirit feels, you begin to see beyond obstacles and imagine possibilities that once seemed out of reach. This shift helps you make sense of moments when opportunities appear delayed or when relationships shift unexpectedly. These changes are not accidents. They are part of a delicate arrangement that unfolds beyond the visible world. You are learning how to navigate these moments with discernment, recognizing that not everything true can be seen immediately. As your inner awareness sharpens, you start noticing subtle patterns, how certain experiences repeat for your growth, how some conversations open new understanding, and how certain thoughts challenge you to step beyond what feels familiar. These experiences teach you to trust what you feel even when you cannot explain it. You begin to sense connections forming, ideas developing, and pathways opening in ways that guide your decisions with greater clarity. This journey invites you to loosen your grip on the need for instant explanations. You discover that life becomes more peaceful when you stop forcing answers and start observing how events unfold with intention. Instead of reacting to what you see, you respond to what you sense rising within you. This shift empowers you to approach challenges with composure, knowing that unseen guidance is working in your favor. You are being prepared for moments where understanding requires not sight but insight. Trust this process. Trust the gentle movements inside you that speak before words form. They lead you toward purpose that cannot be fully understood through physical perception alone. There are difficulties you endured that left lasting impressions on your heart, and I want you to see them with a clarity that brings healing rather than frustration. The situations that drained your strength did not simply test you. They reshaped your inner world in ways that now reveal a deeper capacity for endurance, empathy, and understanding. When you face challenges without knowing how they would end, you tap into strength you did not realize you possessed. This strength may not have been loud or visible, but it developed quietly each time you pushed through a moment that felt heavier than what you thought you could carry. You adapted, learned, and adjusted without recognizing the significance of your resilience. These battles were not meant to break your spirit. They served as places where your courage was refined, where your intuition sharpened, and where your understanding of yourself deepened. In those moments, you confronted thoughts and emotions that once intimidated you, learning how to process them with honesty rather than avoidance. You discovered how to separate temporary discomfort from permanent identity. You learned that struggles do not define you. They reveal the strength already present within you. The pressure you experienced helped shape a steadiness that now guides your decisions. You gained insight into human behavior, including your own, helping you navigate relationships with greater clarity. You recognize that hardship does not always mean failure. Sometimes it teaches you how to prioritize your well-being. These insights became tools that now protect your heart and direct your steps. The battles also created space for compassion. You now understand what it feels like to carry burdens, which makes you more patient with others who face their own challenges. Your empathy grew in the shadows of your struggles, shaping you into someone who can offer support with sincerity. All these shifts happened gradually, and now they form the framework of your inner strength. The resilience you carry is not forced. It grew naturally through the difficulties you encountered. Every battle you faced contributed to your growth. Even the ones you wish had never occurred taught you something that is now essential for the path ahead. You have become stronger, wiser, and more aware of your inner capabilities. These qualities equip you for the opportunities and responsibilities that await you. Recognize the value of what you endured. The battles shaped you into someone capable of walking with purpose. Here is a truth about your journey that becomes clearer when you reflect on the patterns of resistance you encountered. You often wondered why certain challenges followed you or why specific struggles intensified whenever you attempted to grow. These experiences were not indications that you were moving in the wrong direction. They revealed areas connected to your purpose. Resistance often surrounds what carries significance in your life. When you stepped toward something meaningful, whether it was healing, growth, new opportunities, or deeper understanding, obstacles emerged that seemed designed to discourage you. This pattern does not reflect weakness. It reflects value. The areas where you face the strongest resistance often align with the areas where your unique gifts, strengths, or insights have the most impact. Every time you moved toward becoming more grounded, confident, or clear, external pressure increased. You interpreted these moments as signs to retreat, when in reality they marked the importance of your progress. The resistance pushed you to examine what you truly wanted, forcing you to clarify your intentions. Through this process, your commitment strengthened. You learned how to set boundaries, how to communicate your needs, and how to identify what aligns with your values. These skills emerged because resistance demanded that you choose between settling for comfort or stepping into purpose. You discovered that your spirit grows most when challenged, not when everything flows easily. Resistance helped refine your direction, revealing which paths carry meaning and which simply drain your energy. The struggles that repeatedly surfaced were not cycles meant to trap you. They were signals highlighting the areas where growth would benefit you most. When you started confronting these patterns instead of avoiding them, you began breaking ground that once felt impossible. Your persistence uncovered capabilities hidden beneath doubt and uncertainty. You stand now with a clearer understanding of why these struggles followed you. They reflected your assignment, pointing toward areas where your strength could be used not only for your own growth, but also to support others. The resistance revealed pathways connected to your purpose, shaping you into someone capable of moving forward with clarity and resilience. You may not fully recognize it yet, but your ability to sense truth beneath the surface has grown steadily over time, and I want you to understand how this change took place within you. Discernment rarely arrives with dramatic moments or sudden awakenings. It develops quietly through experiences that challenge your assumptions, conversations that stir your spirit, and choices that require deeper reflection. You gain this insight each time you paused instead of reacting, each time you allowed yourself to observe rather than rush forward, and each time you sensed something was off even when you could not put it into words. These moments formed a kind of inner training that strengthened your awareness. When situations did not align with your values, you felt a subtle discomfort. When an opportunity lacked integrity, your spirit hesitated. When someone's intentions conflicted with your peace, you notice tension rising within you. These signals were not random feelings. They were signs that your inner clarity was maturing. You learned to trust these impressions gradually, often after ignoring them once or twice and facing the consequences. Through those experiences, your confidence in your own perception deepened. Discernment does not make life easier, but it makes your path clearer. You started recognizing patterns in people and situations that once confused you. You became aware of what drains your energy and what restores it. This awareness helps you identify relationships that nurture you and those that require boundaries. Discernment also shaped how you view yourself. You began questioning internal narratives that previously held power over your emotions. Through reflection, you realized that certain beliefs about yourself did not originate from truth but from past pain. As your understanding developed, these beliefs lost influence. This internal shift freed you from the need to prove yourself or seek validation from others. With increasing clarity, you approach decisions with a steadier mindset, noticing details that once slipped past you. You now sense when something aligns with your purpose and when it distracts you. All of this growth took place quietly, shaped by experiences that guided your heart toward greater wisdom. Trust the discernment that has formed within you. It is one of the most powerful tools for navigating what lies ahead. Something significant is taking shape within you, and I want you to prepare your heart for the clarity that is approaching. You have walked through seasons where you question nearly everything: your decisions, your timing, your relationships, your identity, and during those moments, you often felt as though you were moving through fog. Each step required effort because the direction was uncertain. But now, a shift is unfolding that will lift that fog and widen your perspective. This clarity will not arrive through force. It will form naturally as your spirit aligns with truth. You may notice how certain ideas fall into place without struggle, how old confusion dissolves as understanding emerges with surprising ease, and how decisions that once felt overwhelming now appear manageable. This change reflects the growth you have undergone. As your internal world becomes more balanced, your perception sharpens. You begin to see your life from a broader viewpoint, connecting experiences that once felt unrelated. This clarity helps you identify what truly matters, making it easier to release what no longer supports your journey. You may find yourself thinking differently about your priorities, recognizing that some responsibilities were never meant to define your identity. You start noticing opportunities that you previously overlooked, and your mind becomes more receptive to possibilities that once felt unreachable. Unexpected clarity often reveals both direction and healing. Long-standing questions begin to resolve as deeper insight surfaces. You may recall memories that once confused you and now understand them through a new lens. This illumination frees you from patterns that kept you stuck. It also helps you communicate your needs more effectively because you understand your emotions more clearly. As this clarity strengthens, your confidence grows. You no longer rely on external approval to validate your path. Instead, you cultivate peace within your choices. This clarity also enhances your intuition, enabling you to sense when something is meant for you and when it is not. You will feel more grounded, more present, and more aware of the subtle guidance shaping your steps. Allow this season of understanding to unfold within you. It will prepare you for opportunities that require a steady heart and a clear mind. Something profound is unfolding in the hidden places of your heart, and it is important for you to recognize the significance of this inner transformation. You may have sensed changes in your thoughts, emotions, or desires without fully understanding their origin. These shifts reflect a deeper work taking place within you, shaping the trajectory of your future. Growth often begins long before it becomes visible. You experience subtle adjustments, new interests forming, old habits losing their appeal, and certain relationships evolving in unexpected ways. These changes may feel unfamiliar, but they indicate that your inner world is realigning with a more authentic version of yourself. As this transformation unfolds, you may feel a mixture of anticipation and uncertainty. This combination is natural, as your heart prepares to step into new levels of understanding. When you release old patterns, space is created for healthier rhythms. These shifts help you approach life with greater intentionality. You begin evaluating your choices more thoroughly, noticing how they influence your emotional and spiritual well-being. This awareness guides you toward decisions that support your growth rather than hinder it. The deeper shift within you also influences how you interpret challenges. Situations that once triggered discouragement now prompt reflection. You recognize the difference between temporary discomfort and meaningful growth. This insight strengthens your resilience, allowing you to face difficulties without losing stability. You may also find yourself becoming more selective about the voices you listen to. As your perception sharpens, you distinguish between what nurtures your spirit and what drains it. This discernment helps you maintain emotional balance, especially during moments of pressure. The transformation taking place is not superficial. It reaches your identity, reshaping how you view yourself and your purpose. You develop a stronger sense of direction, recognizing that your journey carries significance. This shift empowers you to move forward with renewed confidence. It also prepares you for opportunities that require clarity, maturity, and courage. Trust the work unfolding within you, even if you cannot yet see the full picture. You are being shaped for experiences that align with your deepest potential. You may not realize it fully, but your perception is undergoing a remarkable shift, and I want to help you recognize how this change is guiding you toward deeper understanding. Situations that once unsettled you now prompt reflection rather than fear. This adjustment shows that you are beginning to interpret life from a more grounded perspective. Instead of reacting impulsively, you pause long enough to consider what your heart is truly sensing. This pause is not hesitation, it is wisdom forming within you. As your awareness expands, you see connections between moments that once seemed unrelated. You notice how certain experiences shaped your character, helping you grow in patience and resilience. These insights allow you to navigate life with a clear mind, especially when uncertainty rises. You begin to understand the meaning behind your struggles, discerning how they contributed to your growth. This shift in perception also influences how you view opportunities. Possibilities that once intimidated you now feel attainable because you recognize the strength you carry. You have learned to evaluate decisions thoughtfully, considering not only the immediate outcome but also the long-term impact. This maturity helps you align your choices with your purpose rather than temporary emotion. Your new perception also strengthens your relationships. You communicate with greater clarity, understanding the importance of honesty and emotional balance. You identify when a situation affects your peace and take steps to protect your well-being. This awareness prevents you from carrying burdens that do not belong to you. Your internal lens is becoming clearer, allowing you to understand motivations, both in yourself and in others, with increased accuracy. As this new way of seeing develops, you begin to recognize opportunities for growth even in moments that feel uncomfortable. You learn how to separate assumptions from reality, giving yourself permission to let go of outdated beliefs. These insights help you step into a healthier mindset, one that values growth over fear. This new vision becomes a guiding force, helping you interpret life with steadiness. Trust the clarity forming within you. It is leading you toward deeper truth. You often hope for breakthrough as an external event, but the most meaningful shifts begin within you, and this internal transformation prepares the way for visible change. Breakthrough requires inner alignment. Your thoughts, emotions, and intentions moving in the same direction. You have already begun experiencing this shift, even if you have not recognized it clearly. Moments that once overwhelmed you now feel manageable. Thoughts that used to spiral into discouragement now find a calmer path. These changes reflect the work happening within your heart. You are learning how to navigate your emotions with maturity, choosing reflection instead of self-doubt. This internal shift shapes the foundation for new opportunities. When your mindset becomes healthier, you attract experiences that match your growth. You start recognizing your potential, acknowledging your strengths rather than minimizing them. You gain the confidence to pursue what aligns with your purpose. Breakthrough often requires releasing habits that hinder your growth. You may have noticed how certain behaviors or thought patterns lose their appeal as you become more aware of their impact. Letting go creates space for healthier choices. This transition is not always comfortable, but it is necessary. It helps you build a stronger identity, free from limitations created by past pain. You learn how to move with intention, making decisions that support your well-being rather than drain your energy. These internal changes influence how you respond to challenges. You gain the ability to pause, reflect, and choose with clarity. This skill prevents small obstacles from becoming overwhelming. Transformation also shapes how you view yourself. You begin to understand that your worth is not defined by past mistakes or external validation. This realization strengthens your confidence, giving you the courage to step into opportunities that once intimidated you. The transformation unfolding within you is the foundation of your breakthrough. As your mindset shifts, new perspectives emerge. You notice possibilities where you once saw limitations. You sense direction where confusion once dominated. These internal alignments prepare you for breakthroughs that will manifest outwardly. Trust the change taking place within you. It is leading you toward a life shaped by intention, clarity, and strength. You may feel moments of inner disruption, periods where your emotions, thoughts, or expectations shift unexpectedly, and I want you to understand the purpose behind this internal shaking. This experience is not a sign that something is wrong. It signals the removal of outdated beliefs and habits that no longer align with your growth. When old foundations begin to crumble, it can feel unsettling, as though parts of your identity are shifting beneath you. This sensation reflects the deep restructuring happening within your heart. You are releasing patterns that previously shaped your decisions but no longer serve your future. These shifts make room for perspectives that support your maturity. As outdated ideas fall away, your spirit begins to recognize new ways of approaching life. This process requires courage, especially when familiar habits feel safer than new possibilities. However, this shaking prepares you to embrace healthier patterns and stronger foundations. You may notice how certain relationships, interests, or desires shift during this period. This change reflects your evolving sense of identity. As you grow, you attract experiences that align with your new understanding. You also become more aware of boundaries that protect your well-being. This clarity helps you navigate life with greater intentionality. The shaking within you also reveals emotional layers you once avoided. These emotions surface so you can process them with honesty rather than carry them silently. Addressing them frees you from internal tension, creating space for peace. These moments of vulnerability build resilience. They also strengthen your ability to handle future challenges with stability. You begin to understand that your inner world shapes your outer experience. As new foundations form, your confidence grows. You approach life with a steadier mindset, knowing that change does not threaten your identity but enhances it. This inner restructuring prepares you for opportunities that require clarity, courage, and emotional balance. Trust the process unfolding within you. The shaking is not destruction. It is preparation for the person you are becoming. Something inside you hath been shedding layers you did not realize you were still carrying, and this release may feel disorienting at times. You form parts of your identity during difficult seasons when survival mattered more than clarity. Those versions of yourself helped you navigate pain, uncertainty, and disappointment, but they were never meant to define your entire future. You built habits and responses based on experiences that shaped you when you did not yet understand your worth. And now that you are growing into deeper awareness, those old identities no longer match the person you are becoming. This shift may stir confusion as familiar patterns lose their hold. Behaviors you once relied on no longer feel natural. Roles you step into out of necessity begin to feel restrictive. Stories you told yourself about your limitations begin to dissolve. This transformation signals that you are moving beyond the version of yourself shaped by fear or expectation. Letting go of these old identities can feel like losing pieces of your stability, yet this loss makes room for a truer expression of your purpose. You start noticing how certain narratives you once accepted do not reflect the depth of who you are. This realization helps you break agreements with beliefs that once held influence over your decisions. The person you are becoming needs space to breathe, and these shifts create that space. As these identities fall away, your self-awareness sharpens. You begin to recognize what genuinely resonates with your spirit and what merely echoes from past pain. You make choices from a place of intention rather than habit. You understand your emotions with greater clarity, identifying what stems from truth and what emerges from old wounds. This awareness strengthens your resilience, helping you navigate change without losing your sense of direction. You may feel an internal tug during this process, as though part of you is hesitant to move forward. This feeling is natural because transformation often asks you to step outside the familiar, even when the familiar no longer serves your growth. Yet every moment of release brings you closer to the identity aligned with your purpose. You begin to embody qualities that once felt distant: confidence, clarity, emotional balance, and inner peace. These qualities emerge naturally as you step away from identities formed under pressure. Trust the process of shedding. You are not losing yourself. You are uncovering the truth that has always been within you. There is a quiet return happening inside you, a return to the core of who you were created to be before disappointment altered your expectations and before fear whispered limitations into your heart. Over time, life experiences shaped how you saw yourself. Some of those experiences taught you strength, but others introduced uncertainty, leading you to question your potential. Now, a gentle shift is unfolding, reconnecting you with the identity that existed before insecurity shaped your choices. This internal return is not nostalgia, it is restoration. You are reconnecting with the qualities that once made your spirit feel expansive: your creativity, your hopefulness, your courage, your ability to dream without fear of failure. These qualities may have faded during seasons of hardship, yet they were never lost. They simply became dormant beneath a weight of responsibilities, expectations, and unhealed wounds. As clarity forms within you, memories from earlier seasons of your life may surface, not to remind you of what you lacked, but to reawaken the strengths you once overlooked. You begin recognizing the difference between traits you developed out of self-protection and traits that reflect your true nature. This distinction frees you from living according to outdated narratives. You start reclaiming confidence, not rooted in accomplishment but in authenticity. You learn how to trust your intuition again, acknowledging the wisdom that has always guided you internally. This process helps you release burdens that do not belong to you. You no longer feel pressured to meet standards shaped by others' expectations. Instead, you move with intention, honoring the desires that reflect who you truly are. The return to your authentic self also influences how you approach relationships. You become more selective about the people you allow close to your heart. You understand that genuine connections support your growth rather than diminish your spirit. This clarity protects your emotional well-being and aligns you with those who value your journey. As your identity becomes clearer, your path becomes more defined. You notice opportunities that fit your gifts and passions. You feel less drawn to situations that drain your energy. This alignment brings peace that cannot be manufactured. Trust this return. You are not going backward. You are returning to the version of yourself that aligns with your purpose. You have endured experiences that left marks on your heart, and there were moments when you questioned whether those wounds would ever serve any meaningful purpose. Now, I want you to see how those very experiences are shaping a strength that stands apart from anything you previously carried. Pain has a way of refining perception, revealing truths that comfort alone cannot uncover. The struggles you faced chipped away at illusions, leaving behind a form of wisdom that cannot be taught through ease. This wisdom influences how you navigate life. You recognize signs of unhealthy situations sooner than before. You sense when boundaries are needed. You identify intentions more clearly, protecting your heart with maturity rather than fear. These abilities were forged in moments when you had to learn resilience. Challenges taught you patience and perseverance. They shaped your capacity to endure without losing compassion. These qualities prepare you for responsibilities that require emotional depth and steady judgment. The experiences that once discouraged you now equip you to support others from a place of genuine understanding. You can speak into difficult situations with clarity because you have walked similar paths. Your empathy carries weight because it is rooted in lived truth. This depth allows you to form connections built on authenticity rather than superficial interaction. As you reflect on your journey, you begin to see patterns. How situations that felt unfair later introduce strengths you did not know you possessed. The courage you carry today did not appear out of nowhere. It was forged through experiences that required perseverance. Those moments shaped your identity, giving you a strength that does not crumble easily. What was used against you is no longer a source of shame. It is evidence of growth. Your scars tell a story of survival and transformation. They show that you faced darkness without surrendering your spirit. They reveal your ability to rebuild even when circumstances attempted to break you. These truths now empower you to step into your future with confidence. You understand your resilience, and this understanding changes how you interpret challenges. Instead of viewing obstacles as threats, you see them as opportunities for growth. Your past no longer defines you. It equips you. The strength rising from your experiences is shaping you into someone capable of walking with purpose and clarity. Trust this transformation. You are becoming stronger than you ever expected. You may feel unsettled by the shifting circumstances around you, yet I want you to understand that these movements are not dismantling your life. They are clearing pathways that were blocked for far too long. When familiar structures begin to shift, it can feel as though your stability is slipping, but this sensation often emerges when hidden barriers start dissolving. You have relied on certain expectations, routines, and relationships because they brought a sense of familiarity, yet some of these familiar places prevented you from stepping into greater growth. The shaking you sense around you signals that your environment is being rearranged to support a new stage of your journey. This rearrangement influences your decisions, your relationships, and your perspective. You begin noticing how some commitments no longer fit the direction your spirit is pulling toward. Responsibilities that once felt meaningful may now feel draining, not because you lack devotion but because your purpose is widening. This widening creates tension between where you have been and where you are meant to go. Moments of discomfort often appear in this transition, revealing attachments you outgrew without realizing it. As your inner capacity expands, your external world adjusts in response. This adjustment can be misunderstood as disruption, yet it actually reflects alignment. You may notice how certain opportunities shift or how new ideas emerge that feel unfamiliar but compelling. These impressions introduce possibilities that support your future rather than maintain your past. The shaking also influences how you connect with others. Some relationships become stronger as they adapt to your growth, while others drift because they no longer move in the same direction. This change does not diminish the value those relationships once held. It simply reflects the natural evolution of your journey. As your path broadens, your spirit becomes more attuned to connections that encourage emotional balance and inner clarity. The rearranging around you also stirs new levels of self-awareness. You examine your priorities with greater honesty, recognizing where you compromised your well-being for the sake of comfort. This awareness helps you create boundaries that support your peace. It guides you toward choices that align with your values. Through each shift, you develop resilience, learning how to navigate uncertainty without losing your sense of direction. Trust that the shaking is not empty disturbance. It is preparation. It opens doors you never noticed and removes obstacles you tolerated for too long. These changes guide you toward a future shaped by intention rather than circumstance. Allow the shaking to serve its purpose. It is clearing the weight for the life you are meant to build. Something within you is expanding in ways you may not fully recognize, and this expansion is preparing you for a level of strength that exceeds anything you have experienced before. You have relied on endurance for much of your life, pushing through difficulties with determination even when uncertainty clouded your path. Yet the strength forming now is not the kind that comes from surviving hardship. It is the strength that arises when clarity, maturity, and purpose work together. This strength enables you to stand firmly in your identity, make decisions with confidence, and approach challenges with calm awareness rather than fear. You may notice this shift in subtle ways. Your emotions stabilize more quickly. Your thoughts become clearer during conflict, and situations that once intimidated you now feel manageable. These signs show that you are stepping into a steadier version of yourself. Strength also involves understanding your boundaries. You learn when to step forward and when to step back. You recognize when your energy is being drained and when your presence is truly needed. This discernment shapes your inner world, allowing you to preserve your capacity for moments that require your full attention. As you grow into this new strength, you begin noticing how certain responsibilities require deeper emotional balance. You recognize that your decisions influence not only your life but also the lives of others connected to you. This awareness prompts you to approach each choice with honesty, clarity, and patience. Strength also calls you to confront unresolved emotions. You may feel old memories surface, not to burden you but to help you process what you once pushed aside. Through this process, you release emotional weight that kept you from moving freely. Each release creates space for courage, healing, and self-understanding. You discover that strength does not demand perfection. It requires authenticity. You gain the confidence to express your needs without guilt and to stand firm in your values without apology. This development prepares you for opportunities that require mental and emotional stability. You become more aware of your potential, recognizing that your presence carries influence. Trust this preparation. It equips you for responsibilities that align with your purpose. You are becoming stronger not through force, but through growth, clarity, and courage. There is a quiet boldness forming within you, and this courage is emerging exactly when you need it most. You have faced situations where fear overshadowed your confidence, causing you to question your abilities. Yet through each challenge, your spirit learned how to push through hesitation and move with greater determination. This new courage does not appear suddenly. It rises gradually as doubt loses its influence. You begin noticing moments when you act with confidence that feels natural rather than forced. This courage forms when your heart aligns with your purpose. As clarity grows, you stop surrendering to fear-based thinking. You recognize that your voice carries weight, your ideas hold value, and your presence brings influence into the spaces you enter. This awareness strengthens your confidence, helping you speak with intention rather than uncertainty. Courage also grows through emotional honesty. You learn how to express your needs, set boundaries, and communicate your desires without fearing rejection. This honesty deepens your relationships, creating connections built on understanding rather than pretense. It also protects your inner peace, allowing you to navigate conflict with steadiness. You begin approaching opportunities differently. Instead of questioning whether you are capable, you evaluate whether the opportunity aligns with your values. This shift replaces fear with discernment. You stop assuming the worst and start expecting growth. You recognize that courage does not eliminate risk. It prepares you to face it with wisdom. This rising boldness also helps you step away from situations that limit your potential. You begin choosing environments that support your growth rather than diminish your spirit. You sense when something no longer aligns with who you are becoming, and this awareness guides your steps. You stop settling for less than what reflects your worth. The courage forming within you prepares you for new responsibilities, deeper relationships, and meaningful opportunities. It empowers you to move even when clarity is still forming, because your trust in your path becomes stronger than your fear of uncertainty. Trust this boldness. It is guiding you toward choices that expand your life and strengthen your purpose. You may not notice it in the rush of your daily decisions, yet something steady is forming within you. An inner anchor strong enough to keep you grounded even when life moves unpredictably. There were seasons when you reacted quickly because uncertainty overwhelmed your emotions, and you tried to grasp control wherever you could find it. Now, a quieter and much deeper strength is taking shape inside you, shifting how you respond to pressure. This transformation does not demand perfection. It asks for honesty. You are learning how to pause long enough to understand what your heart is truly saying before you act. That pause is not hesitation. It is composure rising from a place within you that once felt fragile. You have gained clarity through the struggles you endured, and this clarity now serves as the foundation for your choices. You begin recognizing when a situation requires your energy and when it requires your patience. You sense when your involvement brings peace and when stepping back preserves your well-being. This awareness becomes an anchor that steadies you in moments that once felt overwhelming. Your strength is also showing up in places where you once felt least confident. You may find yourself speaking with intention during conversations that used to make you anxious. You notice how you approach conflict with greater balance, aware that not every disagreement demands a battle. This maturity comes from understanding your worth. You no longer feel the need to defend yourself constantly because you trust the truth of your intentions. Your strength helps you separate temporary discomfort from true threats to your peace. This distinction protects your emotional energy, preventing you from carrying burdens that do not belong to you. As your inner anchor forms, you begin identifying habits that once shaped your reactions. You might notice how old fears lose their influence, how past insecurities no longer dictate your decisions, and how guilt no longer determines your boundaries. These changes reveal that you are moving into a new stage of emotional clarity. You trust your intuition more freely, recognizing that your inner voice now speaks from growth rather than fear. You also learn how to redirect your thoughts before they spiral into unnecessary worry. This mental discipline strengthens you for future challenges. This anchoring strength influences your relationships as well. You show up with authenticity rather than pretending to be unaffected by circumstances. You communicate your needs clearly, allowing others to understand where you stand without confusion. Your honesty becomes a protective force, creating healthier connections built on mutual respect. You begin valuing relationships that support your growth and releasing those that undermine your peace. This process is not harsh. It reflects self-awareness and emotional healing. All these changes reveal a truth you must embrace. Your strength is no longer reactive. It is stable. It arises not from fear but from understanding. It guides you toward choices aligned with your purpose. Trust this anchor forming within you. It will steady you through everything you encounter next. There are patterns in your life that once puzzled you, behaviors you repeated without knowing why, emotional reactions that felt automatic, choices that circled back to familiar endings. Now, you are gaining the insight needed to understand the roots behind these patterns. This understanding does not come through shame or frustration. It emerges through deeper awareness. You are beginning to see that many of these cycles formed long before you understood their impact. Some began in moments when you felt overlooked, prompting you to seek validation through people or situations that did not honor your worth. Others formed during seasons of uncertainty, convincing you to cling to familiarity even when it drained your spirit. These patterns were not evidence of weakness. They were responses to experiences you navigated without the wisdom you carry today. As your understanding evolves, you begin identifying how certain emotions influence your choices. You notice how fear shaped your decisions in the past, urging you to settle for what felt safe. You recognize how self-doubt encouraged you to shrink your potential. You see how unresolved pain influenced the connections you pursued. This recognition is not meant to burden you. It frees you. When you understand where a pattern begins, you gain the power to transform it. You begin replacing instinctive reactions with thoughtful responses. You question assumptions you once accepted blindly. You challenge beliefs formed in outdated seasons of your life. This insight creates space for healing. You begin addressing the emotions beneath the behavior rather than treating the behavior itself as the problem. You learn how to comfort the parts of yourself that once acted out of fear or loneliness. Through this process, your compassion for yourself deepens. You no longer judge your past choices harshly because you understand the context that shaped them. This compassion strengthens you, helping you remain patient as your patterns shift. Change rarely happens overnight, but each step forward reflects progress. As these roots are uncovered, new clarity emerges in your relationships. You recognize when you are drawn to familiar but unhealthy dynamics. You identify when you are recreating old emotional roles. This awareness empowers you to choose differently. You begin valuing connections that reflect your growth rather than your wounds. You approach relationships with honesty, acknowledging what you need and what you can no longer accept. You also gain insight into your purpose. Many of the struggles you faced prepared you to support others who are navigating similar challenges. Your understanding becomes a tool for encouragement, turning your experiences into wisdom. You discover that the patterns you once feared would define you are now stepping stones toward deeper emotional freedom. This awareness allows you to rewrite your future with intention rather than repetition. Trust the journey of uncovering these roots. You are not unraveling, you are awakening. There are beliefs you carried for years that felt like truth simply because they lingered long enough to influence your decisions. Some formed through painful experiences. Others developed through misunderstood conversations or unverified assumptions. These beliefs shaped how you viewed yourself, how you approached relationships, and how you interpreted failure. Now, a powerful transformation is unfolding within you. You are being freed from lies you didn't even know were guiding your life. This freedom begins with awareness. You start noticing when a thought does not align with your growth. You sense when a belief limits your potential. You recognize when you shrink yourself to meet expectations that were never meant for you. These insights signal the beginning of a deep internal shift. Many of these hidden lies convince you that your worth depends on perfection, approval, or performance. They persuade you to believe that making mistakes diminishes your value or that emotional vulnerability is a sign of weakness. As you grow, you begin confronting these beliefs with clarity. You observe how they once shaped your decisions, making you hesitant to pursue opportunities or express your needs. You recognize how these lies influenced your relationships, encouraging you to accept less than you deserved. Through this realization, your perspective changes. You understand that these beliefs were never rooted in truth. They were formed in moments when you lacked the insight you carry now. This shift also affects how you internalize past experiences. Instead of letting disappointment define your identity, you begin interpreting those moments through a healthier lens. You acknowledge the emotions without letting them control your direction. This emotional honesty helps you break free from conclusions you once made about yourself. You start to see your resilience more clearly. You recognize your growth. You appreciate your ability to adapt and overcome challenges. These realizations weaken the lies that once shaped your choices. As these false beliefs lose their influence, your confidence strengthens. You begin making decisions that reflect your true potential rather than your past limitations. You speak with clarity, understanding that your voice carries value. You express your emotions without fear of being misunderstood. You approach opportunities with a healthy sense of self-worth. This confidence does not arise from ego. It comes from truth replacing distortion. Your relationships also shift as you release these lies. You no longer tolerate dynamics that require you to diminish yourself. You identify when someone's expectations conflict with your well-being. This awareness helps you form connections rooted in mutual respect. It also allows you to communicate boundaries without guilt. You are not simply letting go of lies. You are embracing truth. This truth shapes your identity, strengthens your purpose, and aligns your life with a future built on clarity rather than fear. Trust this freedom. It is guiding you toward the person you were always meant to become. Something profound is happening inside you right now, and it reaches deeper than you may consciously realize. There's a loosening, a quiet unraveling of beliefs that once influenced your choices without your permission. These false conclusions shaped how you interpreted conversations, setbacks, opportunities, and even your own worth. Some came from moments when you felt misunderstood, leading you to assume you needed to hide parts of yourself. Others formed when you carried responsibility for situations that were never yours to fix. Each of these lies placed subtle weight on your spirit, convincing you to shrink, doubt, or hesitate at crucial moments. Now, that weight is beginning to fall away. This release may feel unsettling at first because familiar thoughts, even harmful ones, create a sense of psychological comfort. Yet this internal shift is necessary for your growth. As these lies crumble, your identity becomes clearer. You begin noticing how different your decisions feel when they are rooted in truth instead of fear. You sense new confidence rising in you, helping you speak with intention and pursue opportunities that once seemed out of reach. This release also influences how you see your past. You may start to understand certain memory differently. Instead of concluding that you were unworthy or incapable, you begin recognizing that you lack the insight you have now. This recognition softens old wounds, giving you space to heal without judgment. You also notice when language in your own mind no longer matches who you are becoming. Thoughts rooted in discouragement lose their authority. Self-critical internal dialogue becomes easier to question, and eventually, easier to dismiss. You stop treating doubt as a reliable source of truth. Your spirit begins to stand taller, not through force, but through clarity. This clarity helps you understand that the lies you believed did not reflect your value. They reflected your vulnerability during seasons when you needed compassion more than pressure. And now, compassion expands within you, allowing you to acknowledge your past self without harshness. This compassion guides you through the process of releasing lies with patience rather than frustration. As these internal barriers fall, your relationships shift as well. You stop overextending yourself to earn acceptance. You stop tolerating dynamics that diminish your voice. You stop seeking validation from people who cannot offer it consistently. When these changes occur, it may feel like you're stepping into unfamiliar emotional territory. Yet this territory reflects your true identity. You become more aware of what genuinely supports your well-being, and this awareness guides your interactions with wisdom. You start recognizing who values your presence authentically and who only values what you can provide. This distinction helps you protect your emotional space. It also helps you build connections that nourish your spirit. All of these shifts make room for a more grounded, confident, and fully authentic version of you. The lies fall away so truth can shape your steps. This truth sets you free to rise without resistance, from within or around you. You often wondered why certain challenges seem to target the same areas of your life over and over again. Your confidence, your relationships, your sense of direction, your peace, your dreams. These patterns were not random. The pressure you felt was connected to parts of yourself that carried tremendous potential, even when you didn't recognize it. Instead of interpreting these challenges as signs of inadequacy, look deeper. They reveal the places where you hold the greatest influence, the greatest strength, and the greatest possibility for growth. When something valuable exists within you, it becomes a point of tension during seasons of transformation. The areas of your life that were attacked most often are the same areas where you carry the most power. Your compassion was tested because it has the capacity to restore others. Your creativity was challenged because it can open pathways for your future. Your confidence was shaken because it influences your ability to walk boldly into your calling. Your hope was pressured because hope fuels endurance. Each area under attack signaled that it contained something meaningful. This understanding changes how you interpret your past. You begin seeing purpose in moments you once dismissed as random hardship. You gain clarity about why certain relationships caused deep emotional strain. They touched core parts of your identity. Their tension revealed places where healing was needed, but also where strength already existed. You recognize how emotional patterns developed not because you were weak, but because your sensitivity carried insight. The weight you felt during certain seasons reflected the depth of your potential, not the limit of it. These experiences prepared you to recognize manipulation, insincerity, and unhealthy dynamics quickly. They shaped your discernment, giving you the ability to notice what others might overlook. These challenges also clarified your boundaries. You learned how to protect your energy and prioritize emotional balance. Through the difficulties, you discovered how to trust your intuition. You became aware of signs that signal when something aligns with your spirit and when it does not. This awareness guides your decisions now, helping you avoid patterns that drained you in the past. You also developed a deeper understanding of empathy. You know what it feels like to navigate emotional weight, which allows you to support others with wisdom rather than judgment. As you reflect, you may realize that the attacks against your identity were meant to distract you from your purpose. Yet every time you overcame a challenge, you strengthened the very areas that were targeted. What was pressured became powerful. What was shaken became solid. What was doubted became defined. This shift reveals that your purpose has always been present, even in moments when you felt lost. Trust this understanding. It shows that the most challenged parts of your life are the same areas where you will step into the greatest impact. There is a connection between the battles you faced and the purpose you carry, and I want you to recognize this connection without fear or confusion. Throughout your life, you encountered struggles that seemed heavier than what others experienced in similar situations. These challenges were not punishments. They were indicators of the depth within you. Purpose often reveals itself through pressure. The places where you felt the most resistance are the places where your influence has the greatest potential to flourish. This doesn't mean you were meant to suffer. It means your experiences shaped the qualities required for your calling. You developed resilience during seasons when giving up seemed easier. You cultivated compassion in moments when your heart felt weighed down by emotional strain. You strengthened your intuition while navigating uncertainty. Each experience formed a distinct part of your character. You may not see the full picture yet, but these qualities will serve you in the future. Your resilience will help you persevere when circumstances demand courage. Your compassion will guide your interactions with others. Your intuition will direct your decisions during moments that lack clarity. These strengths are not accidental. They are the result of your journey. The battles you endured prepared you to occupy spaces where emotional depth, clarity, and endurance are required. These are qualities that cannot be learned through comfort. They emerge through experience, reflection, and healing. Your purpose also becomes clearer as you examine the themes in your life. You may notice patterns in the type of challenges you faced, patterns that reveal what you are meant to influence. If you struggled with self-worth, your purpose may involve helping others recognize their value. If you battled fear, your purpose may involve encouraging others to embrace courage. If you navigated rejection, your purpose may involve fostering acceptance and belonging. Your journey gives you the ability to speak into these areas with authenticity. People trust those who have lived the stories they share. As your understanding deepens, you gain confidence in your ability to navigate future challenges. You see how your past shaped your present, not to burden you, but to prepare you. This clarity becomes a guiding force, helping you step into opportunities that align with your purpose. You begin recognizing environments where your presence brings stability. You notice when your words provide comfort or insight. You see how your influence creates movement in situations where stagnation once existed. Your purpose is written throughout your battles, not in the form of suffering, but in the form of wisdom and strength. Every challenge shaped the person you are becoming. Trust this process. It reveals that nothing you endure was wasted. There is a truth you need to feel deeply within your spirit. Nothing you walked through was empty, meaningless, or forgotten. Even the sorrow you tried to outrun, the pain you kept hidden, and the disappointments that left you questioning your own resilience. All of it planted something within you that is now beginning to grow. You may not have recognized this growth when it first began because it did not rise with fireworks or clarity. It grew quietly in small decisions, subtle shifts, and the softening of your perspective. The struggles that once consumed you now shape your wisdom. The disappointments that drained your energy now deepen your compassion. The heartbreaks that once shattered you now strengthen your ability to understand others without judgment. The experiences that felt like failure redefined your capacity for endurance. Although none of these seasons were easy, they taught you lessons that comfort rarely provides. They revealed how to listen to the soft voice inside you, how to notice what your spirit needs, and how to pull yourself back together when life felt scattered. These moments also shaped the way you love. You learned to appreciate sincerity because you lived through seasons where connection felt fragile. You learned the value of boundaries because you once gave more than your heart could sustain. You learned to cherish authenticity because you once felt the weight of pretending to be strong when you were overwhelmed. Each experience taught you something different, and now these lessons form the foundation of who you are becoming. You may not fully see how these seeds are growing, but they are rising within you in the form of deeper insight, emotional maturity, and a stronger sense of identity. You respond differently to situations that once triggered anxiety. You communicate with more clarity. You recognize what does not align with your spirit more quickly. These shifts reveal that your sorrow planted something productive. Even the moments that you regret serve a purpose. They helped you recognize what you truly want in life. They taught you how to honor your needs and value your well-being. They guided you away from environments that would have stunted your growth. The sorrow that felt heavy at the time now carries meaning you can appreciate. Its weight has transformed into understanding. Its ache has turned into strength. Trust this truth. No season was wasted. Every experience contributed to your wisdom, your depth, and your purpose. Nothing you endured was empty. Everything planted something that is now bearing fruit. There is a strength inside you that did not exist in the same way before you walked through hardship, and this strength is shaping the foundation beneath your feet right now. You once believed that the situations you survived left you broken or behind, but I want you to see the ground from a new perspective. What you endured did not weaken you, it grounded you. The challenges you faced taught you how to remain steady when circumstances shift. You learned how to adapt without losing yourself. You discovered how to rebuild when pieces of your life felt scattered. These skills became part of your character, shaping how you navigate the world. You may not have realized it during those painful seasons, but every time you chose to rise instead of surrender, something stronger rooted itself within you. This foundation affects how you respond to adversity now. When uncertainty appears, you draw from the resilience formed in earlier chapters of your life. You remember how you survived when the path felt unclear. You recall moments when you doubted your ability to continue, yet somehow found a way forward. These memories teach you that you are more capable than you once believed. They show you that your endurance is not accidental, it is proven. This realization helps you approach new challenges with a grounded perspective. You no longer feel overwhelmed by unexpected shifts because you trust your ability to adapt. This trust strengthens your confidence, guiding your steps with steadier intention. Your foundation also shapes how you show up for others. You understand pain in ways that build empathy. You know what it feels like to search for direction during difficult seasons. This understanding allows you to support others without judgment, offering insight that feels genuine rather than rehearsed. Your compassion carries weight because you have lived through moments where you needed compassion yourself. This depth shapes your relationships, creating connections built on honesty and emotional safety. The foundation you stand on also reveals your identity. You are stronger than the obstacles that tried to break you. You are wiser than the confusion that once clouded your judgment. You are more grounded than the fears that once controlled your decisions. This foundation does not remove challenges, but it ensures that you meet them with strength rather than fragility. Trust the ground beneath you. It is built from every moment you survived. It is stable because you built it through endurance. It is strong because it carries the weight of everything you overcame. This foundation is the evidence of who you have become and who you are still becoming. There is a significance woven through your story that reaches far beyond your own healing, and I want you to understand the depth of what is unfolding. The experiences you walk through, both the painful and the triumphant, are forming a narrative that will uplift others in ways you may not yet see. Your story carries weight because it holds truth born from lived experience. You understand struggle intimately, and that understanding gives your words power when you speak into someone else's pain. Many of the challenges you endured cultivated wisdom that cannot be taught through ease. This wisdom becomes a guiding light for those who feel lost in the same shadows you once walked through. What you survived allows you to recognize the signs of someone else's silent battle. You know how to listen without dismissing their emotions. You know how to offer comfort without taking away their dignity. Your story transforms into compassion. You might wonder how the painful chapters of your life could ever hold meaning for someone else. But often the most impactful testimonies come from genuine scars, not perfected narratives. People are drawn to authenticity, and your authenticity carries strength. You do not need to have everything resolved. You simply need to share the truth of where you've been and how you found the courage to move forward. Your journey becomes an invitation for others to believe that healing is possible, that transformation is real, and that their own story holds value. Even the parts you once wished you could erase now carry purpose. They reveal your endurance. They show what it looks like to rise from moments that felt impossible. They give hope to those who are still fighting their battles. Your story also shapes the way you approach your purpose. It helps you identify areas where your presence creates comfort, clarity, or encouragement. You begin noticing when someone needs the wisdom you carry. You recognize when your experiences align with someone else's struggle. This alignment reveals the specific ways your story will be used to bring healing or perspective to others. You may not realize it now, but the depth within you was shaped for impact. Your voice has the potential to bring peace where fear once lived. Your insight can bring clarity to those who feel lost. Your encouragement can strengthen someone who is ready to give up. Your story is not finished, and the meaning woven through it will continue to grow. What once felt like random events is now becoming a testimony with purpose. Trust that your journey holds significance beyond what you can see today. Your story, imperfect, courageous, and deeply human, will lift others in ways that bring light into places where they once felt alone. You may sense an inner pull you cannot fully explain, an unspoken awareness that something significant rests upon your life, and I want you to understand the depth of that calling. This pull is not pressure, it is purpose. It is the quiet realization that your life carries influence, even when you don't feel ready to step into that role. There have been moments when you wondered why your emotional world feels more sensitive than others, why your experiences seem more intense, why your heart reads between the lines in a way that others miss. These sensitivities are not flaws. They are indicators of a calling that requires depth, empathy, and courage. You were shaped through your struggles because your purpose requires a kind of inner strength that cannot be built through comfort alone. The very qualities that once made you feel different now reveal the uniqueness of your assignment. You are being prepared to navigate situations where clarity, presence, and emotional steadiness matter. This calling also explains why certain paths closed, even when you pursued them with hope. You were guided away from environments that would have limited your growth. You were redirected from roles that did not match your identity. At times, this redirection felt like rejection, yet it protected your purpose. You are meant to carry influence in spaces where your voice will bring transformation, where your presence will bring calm, and where your insight will bring healing. Such a calling requires maturity and emotional awareness. These qualities have been forming within you even during seasons you thought were wasted. What felt like stagnation or confusion actually laid the groundwork for your strength. Your calling also impacts the way you experience relationships. You feel deeply because you carry empathy that allows you to support others with sincerity. You sense emotional shifts before words are spoken. This sensitivity equips you to lift others during moments of uncertainty. It also helps you recognize when authenticity is missing. These abilities make you someone who can offer guidance, comfort, or perspective when it is needed most. They also require you to protect your emotional boundaries so your energy is not drained by environments that take without giving. As you grow, You begin recognizing the distinction between a calling and expectation. Your calling is not a burden. It is not about meeting unrealistic standards or impressing others. It is the natural expression of who you are becoming. It arises from your capacity for insight, your resilience, your compassion, and your courage. These qualities shape the way you navigate your future. You will notice opportunities that once felt distant begin to align with your gifts. You will sense a deeper confidence forming as you recognize that your journey prepared you for more than you realized. Trust this pull inside you. It is not accidental. It reveals the weight of a life designed for meaningful impact. There is a moment in every person's life when the pieces of their past begin coming together with clarity, and you are approaching that moment now. You spent years navigating experiences that felt disconnected, different seasons, different struggles, different victories, and you wondered if any of it held a unified purpose. The truth is that each chapter was preparing you for a level of alignment you could not have understood back then. Every experience, whether painful or transformative, contributed something essential to your character. You developed emotional awareness through heartbreak. You learned perseverance through disappointment. You discovered discernment through trial. These qualities were not learned overnight. They were formed gradually, setting the foundation for alignment. Alignment occurs when your values, decisions, identity, and purpose begin moving in the same direction. You may have noticed glimpses of this alignment already, moments where your choices feel clearer, where your reactions feel calmer, where your direction feels more intentional. These moments are not coincidences. They reflect the internal work you have done. You are becoming aware of what suits your spirit and what disrupts your peace. This awareness influences the opportunities you pursue and the relationships you nurture. It also helps you identify when something does not align with your growth, allowing you to step away without guilt. This alignment requires honesty with yourself. You begin acknowledging desires you once suppressed because you feared disappointment. You confront emotions you once buried because you feared vulnerability. You admit truths you once ignored because you feared change. These moments of honesty create space for clarity. They remove internal contradictions that once confused your decisions. As clarity grows, your actions reflect the person you are becoming rather than the person you once were. Alignment also invites new possibilities. You start noticing opportunities that match your strengths. You sense direction where confusion once reigned. You begin moving with confidence because you trust your intuition more deeply. This trust builds momentum. It helps you step into spaces that require your authenticity and courage. You no longer chase validation. You choose purpose. You no longer cling to familiarity. You choose growth. All the moments you questioned, every setback, every detour, every delay, prepared you for this stage. They shaped your resilience, sharpened your discernment, and expanded your emotional capacity. Trust the alignment forming in your life. It reflects the truth that everything you walk through carried meaning, and now that meaning is unfolding in your direction. You have lived through seasons that felt unpredictable, confusing, or unfair, and you often questioned the purpose behind them. Yet there is a timing unfolding that will help you understand how each of those seasons contributed to your growth. Sometimes you cannot see the purpose while you are in the middle of the experience, because the clarity needed to interpret it comes later. But now, you are entering a stage where understanding will begin to surface. This understanding does not come through forced reflection. It emerges naturally when your perspective expands. You begin to see how challenges from one season prepared you for opportunities in another. You recognize how lessons you learned years ago now apply to decisions you face today. You understand how emotional maturity gained through struggle now supports healthy relationships and wiser boundaries. Many seasons in your life required growth you did not realize was happening. During times when you felt stuck, patience was forming. During times when you felt overlooked, humility was growing. During times when you felt pressure, endurance was strengthening. These qualities were preparing you for moments that require steadiness. Purpose often unfolds gradually, revealing how each stage carried meaning even when the meaning wasn't visible at the time. As your perspective widens, you begin to understand why certain relationships ended. They made room for connections that align with your spirit. You start to understand why certain opportunities closed. They protected you from paths that would have drained your potential. You understand why certain transitions felt abrupt. They accelerated your growth. This understanding brings peace because it shows that your journey was not random. It was guided. You may notice how memories once filled with pain begin to feel different. You interpret them through wisdom rather than fear. This shift allows healing to deepen. It helps you reclaim power from experiences that once left you discouraged. Your past no longer becomes a burden. It becomes context. It reveals how you develop strength, resilience, clarity, and emotional depth. As this understanding grows, you step into your future with a steadier heart. You trust yourself more. You trust the timing of your journey. You trust that even the seasons that seemed slow or confusing were part of the preparation for what comes next. You begin living with intention rather than anxiety. You move with confidence rather than fear. You make choices that reflect both wisdom and hope. The purpose of your journey is becoming clearer, and soon you will see why every season was necessary. There is a quiet shift taking place inside you, a shift that will soon make the scattered pieces of your past come together with a clarity you once believed would never arrive. You have carried memories that felt fragmented, moments that seemed random, and experiences that appeared to have no meaning beyond the pain or confusion they caused. Yet, beneath the surface of your journey, each event has been part of a larger pattern forming steadily, even when you couldn't recognize its shape. You often wondered why certain experiences happened at the time they did, why some lessons felt forced upon you, and why specific people appeared in your life only to leave before their purpose felt complete. Soon, you will see that none of these moments stood alone. Each fragment carries a connection to the wisdom developing inside you. As you grow emotionally, spiritually, and mentally, you begin to see patterns that weren't visible before. Your perception sharpens, and suddenly the experiences you once separated begin speaking to each other. The decisions you made years ago take on new meaning. The relationships that ended unexpectedly reveal their purpose. The disappointments that once felt senseless now appear as turning points that protected you from the wrong direction. This clarity comes when your heart is ready to interpret your past without judgment or fear. You begin realizing that not all endings were losses. Many were shifts that made space for stability, alignment, and healthier connections. You understand that certain delays prevented you from stepping into situations that would have drained your potential. You recognize how early challenges developed the emotional strength you now rely on. Your past becomes less of a burden and more of a blueprint, revealing patterns, themes, and truths about who you are becoming. This understanding softens your relationship with your own history. Instead of resisting painful memories, you observe them with compassion and insight. They no longer define your identity. They reveal your resilience. You begin to honor the person you were in those seasons, realizing that your younger self navigated circumstances without the clarity you possess now. That recognition brings healing. It frees you from the shame of past mistakes and releases you from the frustration of unanswered questions. As the pieces of your past connect, your confidence grows. You understand your strengths more clearly. You interpret your weaknesses with greater grace. You step into each day with more intention because you finally see how everything before this moment was leading you toward a deeper version of yourself. This clarity will not overwhelm you. It will steady you. It will show you that your journey had meaning all along. There were times when you questioned why things didn't unfold the way you hoped, and now you are approaching a season where the hidden reasons behind those moments will become clearer. Many of the situations that frustrated you were actually places where protection surrounded you in ways you could not perceive. You often saw only the immediate circumstance, the closed door, the unexpected delay, the relationship that shifted without explanation. What you couldn't see was the long-term impact those situations would have had on your heart, your growth, or your purpose. Protection does not always look like comfort. Sometimes it looks like delay. Sometimes it looks like loss. Sometimes it looks like confusion. But even in those moments, you were being guided away from paths that would have drained your spirit or derailed your progress. You will soon begin to recognize signs of that protection. Conversations that once hurt you will make more sense as you understand the emotional strain that would have followed if things continued. Opportunities that slipped through your fingers will reveal themselves as burdens that would have consumed your time or energy. People who distance themselves will appear differently when you see how their presence would have limited your growth. You will understand that what felt like abandonment was sometimes redirection. What felt like rejection was often a shield. What felt like unanswered prayers was actually alignment that required patience. This realization softens the disappointment you once carried. You begin to see that you were never forgotten. You were being led. This understanding also deepens your trust in yourself. You recognize how your intuition nudged you away from certain situations even when you didn't understand why. You begin honoring those inner signals more intentionally. You learn how to differentiate between emotional fear and genuine guidance. This awareness shapes your decisions, helping you step into new opportunities with confidence rather than hesitation. You also begin to appreciate how protection shaped your character. It taught you resilience when plans shifted unexpectedly. It taught you patience when timelines stretched longer than you wanted. It taught you discernment when relationships changed direction. Protection prepared you for a future that required clarity and emotional steadiness. As the truth of these moments becomes clearer, peace enters your heart in places where confusion once resided. You stop questioning whether you were overlooked. You stop doubting whether you were worthy. You stop replaying scenarios to find fault in yourself. Instead, you begin to trust the path ahead because you finally understand that you were never alone in the journey behind you. Protection was present, even when you didn't see it. There are chapters of your story that never unfolded because danger, loss, or emotional harm was intercepted long before it reached your awareness, and you are now entering a season where this truth will become increasingly clear. You often assume that your struggles reveal the whole picture of what you faced, yet much of what threatened your peace never reached your life at all. The tension you felt occasionally, the sudden heaviness, the sharp sense of unease, the intuitive pull to step back or move differently, was evidence of unseen harm being redirected away from your path. These were not coincidences. They were moments of protection manifesting through intuition, timing, and circumstance. You may have wondered why you felt drawn away from certain conversations, environments, or relationships without any clear reason. Those shifts were not random, they were safeguards. You will soon understand that some people you felt strangely distanced from carried intentions that would have depleted your spirit. Some opportunities that seemed promising had hidden consequences. Some circumstances you hoped for would have placed unhealthy pressure on your identity. You did not recognize the threats at the time because they were subtle, but the protection surrounding you was strong. This protection preserved your emotional stability. It prevented you from stepping into commitments you were not prepared to carry. It shielded you from manipulation, from betrayal, from disappointment deeper than what you were prepared to handle. This realization changes how you see the quiet moments of discomfort that led you to shift directions. You understand that those signals were not fear, they were guidance. You begin trusting your internal cues more deeply. You feel more confident in recognizing when something does not sit right with your spirit, even if you cannot explain it logically. This confidence helps you move through life with emotional clarity. You stop second-guessing your intuition. You start honoring it as a genuine part of your protection. This understanding also strengthens your gratitude. You recognize that protection does not always come through obvious intervention. Sometimes it comes through a canceled meeting, an unexpected delay, an uneasy feeling, or a sudden change of plans. These disruptions were not inconveniences. They were safeguards. You were spared from carrying burdens that weren't yours. You were spared from emotional harm that would have slowed your growth. You were spared from connections that would have used your kindness without nurturing your soul. As this awareness settles into your spirit, your confidence grows. You realize that you are watched over, guided, and protected in ways that extend far beyond what you can perceive. You understand that your story contains invisible victories, battles you never had to fight because they were stopped before they touched your life. This truth will become a source of peace as you continue walking into the future prepared for you. There are memories you carry that still feel heavy, moments when you believed you walked alone, when silence pressed against your spirit so tightly you questioned your own worth. Yet I want you to understand something with a depth that reaches beyond emotion. You were never abandoned in those moments, no matter how convincing the darkness felt. Pain has a way of narrowing your vision, making shadows seem larger than they truly are and hiding the quiet movements of hope that are unfolding beneath the surface. During those nights, when you lay awake, feeling the weight of disappointment or confusion pressing into your ribs, something inside you kept breathing, kept hoping, kept searching for meaning. That persistence was not weakness. It was evidence that you were deeply seen and profoundly held, even when your circumstances offer no visible reassurance. You interpreted silence as absence, yet silence often appears in the very moments when unseen strength is being formed inside you. When you reflect on those seasons now, you may begin to notice how you found support at unexpected times, or how clarity eventually surfaced in situations that once felt impossible to navigate. You may recall how conversations arrived at just the right moment, offering comfort or direction when you felt least anchored. These were not coincidences. They were quiet signs that you were not forsaken. You were surrounded in ways you could not perceive because the noise of struggle often drowns out the gentle evidence of guidance. Even the strength you discovered later, the resilience that surprised you, was shaped by a presence that never stepped away. You learned how to endure uncertainty. You discovered how to reach deeper within yourself. You found that even in the absence of answers, something inside you kept moving forward. That movement reflects a connection that cannot be severed. This understanding also reshapes how you relate to your own pain. You begin to interpret your darkest moments not as proof of abandonment but as stages of transformation. You realize that what you survived gave you a depth of insight that now helps you navigate life with clarity. You recognize that even when no one knew how much you were struggling, you remained supported in ways you didn't comprehend at the time. You start to see how your spirit was strengthened during those seasons, growing in perseverance, compassion, and awareness. This understanding softens the parts of you that still feel wounded. It allows you to move forward without being defined by those chapters. As this truth settles into your heart, peace begins to form where fear once lived. You no longer view your darkest moments as evidence of abandonment but as proof of the strength you gained while being held through them, even when you didn't realize it. There are moments from your past that you still look back on with regret. Decisions you wish you handled differently. Opportunities you feel you overlooked. Relationships you left behind or held onto too long. These memories linger because you carry a desire to understand them, to make sense of why they unfolded the way they did. Regret can be a heavy emotion, often attaching itself to your identity and whispering that you missed your chance or proved yourself unworthy. Yet a shift is approaching within you, a shift where regret begins to dissolve and gratitude rises quietly in its place. This isn't gratitude that dismisses your feelings or invalidates your pain. It is gratitude that emerges when understanding takes shape. In time, you will see how those very moments you regret served a purpose that is only becoming visible now. As your perspective matures, you realize that certain decisions were necessary for your growth. They taught you how to navigate consequences, how to value clarity, and how to take responsibility without punishing yourself. You begin to see that even your mistakes carried lessons that improve your discernment. You recognize how your experiences helped you cultivate emotional depth, empathy, and resilience. The opportunities you believe you lost were often not aligned with the person you were becoming. Some doors needed to close so that you could pursue paths that match your readiness. The relationships you held onto too long taught you the importance of boundaries. The ones you walked away from revealed what you truly value. Regret begins to soften when you see these truths. It transforms into a deeper appreciation for how far you've come and how much you've learned. Gratitude also rises as you acknowledge your humanity. You understand that growth rarely follows a flawless path. People learn by trying, failing, adjusting, and trying again. Your journey is no different. When this realization sinks in, you no longer judge your past self for not knowing what you know now. You extend compassion inward. You recognize that you made the best decisions you could with the insight you had at the time. This recognition creates space for healing. It opens the door for gratitude to take root not only for your successes, but also for your imperfections. Eventually, you will see that regret no longer holds power over you. In its place will stand gratitude, gratitude for lessons learned, for resilience gained, and for the wisdom that now guides your steps with intention and confidence. There are people whose absence still echoes inside you. Individuals you once imagined will remain part of your story indefinitely. Their departure may have felt sudden, confusing, or deeply painful. You sometimes replay conversations in your mind, trying to understand what changed or what you could have done differently. Yet I want you to see these departures through a lens that brings peace rather than self-blame. Their exit was part of a necessary clearing. Not because they were inherently wrong or you were unworthy, but because your growth required space that certain relationships could not support. Some people came into your life to teach you something specific: confidence, boundaries, clarity, or courage, and once that purpose was fulfilled, the relationship naturally shifted. At the time, you interpreted the shift as loss. Now, you are beginning to understand that it was transition. Their absence created space for you to recognize your own voice. It pushed you to discover who you are apart from others' expectations. It helped you see where you overextended yourself out of fear of being alone, or where you compromised your values to maintain connection. These insights would not have surfaced if the relationship had remained unchanged. You grew because of the separation, not in spite of it. And while that growth felt painful, it strengthened your identity. It taught you how to differentiate between loyalty and self-sacrifice. It helped you recognize when someone's presence supports your well-being and when it hinders your evolution. As your understanding deepens, the ache connected to their absence begins to change. It loses its sharpness. It becomes something you can examine without being overwhelmed. You may even find yourself grateful, not for the pain, but for the clarity it brought. Some people were removed because your paths were headed in different directions. Had they stayed, the misalignment would have grown, creating conflict or emotional strain that would have disrupted your peace. Others left because you were becoming someone they didn't recognize, someone more self-aware, grounded, and intentional. Their season in your life ended because your growth required different companionship, different support, and different perspectives. This does not mean their presence was wrong. It simply means the timing was complete. As you move forward, new relationships will align with the person you are becoming, not the person you used to be. These connections will support your growth instead of resisting it. Trust that the clearing was necessary, not to isolate you, but to make room for genuine alignment. There are relationships in your life that ended without the closure you hoped for, and their absence still lingers in your thoughts from time to time. You wonder why certain people drifted away, why communication faded, or why emotional distance grew even when you tried to hold on. These unanswered questions can create tension inside you, especially when you cared deeply or invested more than others realized. Yet I want you to consider something that will soon become clearer. Not everyone was meant to walk with you into the next stages of your growth. Some connections served a meaningful purpose, but that purpose was tied to who you were, not who you are becoming. As you evolve, your emotional landscape changes. Your values deepen. Your boundaries strengthen. Your awareness sharpens. These internal shifts naturally introduce changes in your relationship. Many of the people who left your life did not do so because they lacked care. Sometimes your transformation highlighted differences in direction, maturity, or readiness that could not be bridged. Even when affection was present, alignment was not. For some, the version of you that required constant reassurance felt familiar, but the version of you becoming grounded and self-aware felt unfamiliar. Growth can create distance because it changes the rhythm of connection. The people who drifted away were not rejecting your worth. They were responding to a path that no longer moved parallel to their own. You may even begin to see how their presence in your current season would have limited your freedom. Their perspective, expectations, or emotional patterns would have conflicted with the clarity you are developing. You needed room to grow without the pressure of adapting to their needs or shrinking yourself to maintain harmony. Understanding this brings emotional relief. You stop blaming yourself for the separation. You stop replaying interactions in search of mistakes. You even begin seeing the beauty in what the connection once offered without feeling obligated to restore what no longer fits. This perspective doesn't diminish the memories. It simply allows you to honor them without being anchored to them. Ultimately, the people meant for your future will match your rhythm, respect your growth, and walk with you in the direction your life is now unfolding. Cusp shifts in connection. They protected your progress and preserved your emotional and spiritual alignment. There have been relationships in your life where something felt off, even if you could not articulate why. At the time, you sensed subtle tension beneath the surface, an imbalance in effort, an unspoken expectation, or an emotional weight that left you drained. You tried to give the benefit of the doubt because you wanted to believe the connection was genuine. Yet pieces of their behavior didn't fully align with their words. You questioned your intuition, wondering if you were overthinking or misinterpreting. And now you are entering a season where clarity will rise to the surface, revealing motives you could not see before. This clarity is not meant to create bitterness. It is meant to free you from confusion. When motives are illuminated, you stop wasting emotional energy trying to decode mixed signals. You stop carrying responsibility for dynamics you did not create. You stop blaming yourself for tension that was never your fault. Some relationships were drawn to your kindness, your patience, or your willingness to listen, yet they offered little in return. Others admired your strength, but subtly resented your growth. A few connected to you because of what you could provide, whether emotional support, stability, or validation, without offering the same sincerity. You may soon notice patterns that reveal who was genuinely invested in your well-being and who was invested in what you could give. This recognition empowers you to identify relationships rooted in authenticity. You start noticing who celebrates your growth rather than feels threatened by it. You see who respects your boundaries rather than ignores them. You observe who communicates with honesty rather than hidden agendas. Clarity also rhymes through self-reflection. You begin understanding why you tolerated certain behaviors in the past, perhaps because you feared conflict, or valued loyalty, or underestimated your own worth. This awareness helps you release guilt and build healthier patterns for the future. You no longer settle for one-sided connections. You no longer accept inconsistency disguised as affection. You no longer silence your intuition to keep peace. With this clarity, you cultivate relationships founded on mutual respect, emotional honesty, and genuine care. You become selective not out of fear but out of wisdom. You protect your peace because you finally understand its value. Allow this clarity to guide you. It will help you surround yourself with people whose motives align with love, sincerity, and truth. There are moments in your life when you felt frustrated by the way things shifted unexpectedly, plans falling apart, opportunities disappearing, or directions changing abruptly. These disruptions often left you confused, wondering if you made the wrong choice or missed a sign. Yet in time, you will recognize that these redirections were not failures. They were interventions. They protected you from stepping into situations that would have delayed your growth or drained your spirit. Some of the paths you wanted were shaped by desire rather than alignment. They appealed to your hopes but would have demanded parts of you that were not meant to be compromised. You may have felt disappointment at the time, but now you will begin to see how those closed avenues preserved your energy, your clarity, and even your emotional well-being. Redirection often happens subtly. A conversation doesn't unfold as expected. A door closes at the last moment. Your spirit feels unsettled in a way you can't explain. You hesitate, and the hesitation feels inconvenient, until later, when you see what that path would have cost you. You avoided emotional turmoil, unnecessary pressure, or environments that clashed with your identity. You sidestepped influences that would have shaped you in unhealthy ways. You were guided away from commitments that looked promising but carried expectations you were not meant to carry. Each redirection was a form of protection designed to keep your life aligned with deeper purpose. This understanding will help you trust your journey more fully. You begin to recognize how intuition nudged you away from certain people, roles, or decisions long before logic could explain why. You learn to honor those inner signals rather than dismiss them. You start noticing how each detour brought you closer to clarity. Even when the path felt unfamiliar, it carried you toward experiences that nurtured your growth. Redirection taught you adaptability. It strengthened your ability to release control. It revealed that timing matters as much as opportunity. Now, as you reflect, you will see that redirection was not rejection. It was alignment with a path that matches your identity, your healing, and your future. Trust this truth. Every shift protected you more than you knew. There were moments when you looked at your circumstances and wondered if you were walking through life unguarded, moments when disappointment struck so unexpectedly that you questioned whether anything or anyone was watching over you at all. Yet now you are entering a phase where you will clearly see how many times you were shielded in ways you didn't understand at the time. You often looked for visible signs, something you could measure or confirm, but protection is not always loud. It comes through intuition that nudges you inwardly, through delays that frustrate you temporarily, through endings that break your heart before revealing their purpose. You interpreted these moments as disruptions, yet each one quietly redirected you away from unnecessary pain. There were friendships you tried to maintain that began to fade without explanation. Only now do you understand the emotional damage they would have caused if they continued. There were opportunities you chased that dissolved suddenly, and although their loss stung, the path they would have taken you down would have been filled with continuous strain and confusion. Protection also appeared in ways you dismissed. That sudden shift in your spirit that made you hesitant. That uneasy feeling that made you pause before making a decision. That moment you couldn't explain when you felt the need to distance yourself from someone or something. These instincts were not random. They were your deeper self responding to guidance you didn't consciously recognize. When you ignored them, life revealed why they were there. When you followed them, you avoided consequences you never even saw forming. This awareness will bring peace to places where you used to blame yourself for outcomes you didn't control. You will release the internal battle between trusting your intuition and doubting it. You will understand that protection doesn't always remove the struggle. It shapes the struggle so it doesn't break you. As this awareness sinks in, your trust in your own journey strengthens. You begin moving with more confidence because you finally comprehend the ways in which you've been carried. You understand that the absence of a desired outcome wasn't abandonment, it was preservation. The unanswered questions weren't silence, they were alignment waiting for the right time. When you look back with this new understanding, you will see that you were surrounded in ways you didn't have the capacity to recognize. And now that you can see it, you will walk forward with a steadier heart, knowing that protection is still present, even when circumstances try to convince you otherwise. There have been seasons where your thoughts felt tangled, where emotions rose without warning, and where your direction felt clouded by conflicting desires. You questioned your decisions, second-guessed your intuition, and wondered whether something within you was broken. Yet none of this was evidence of weakness. It was evidence that you were evolving faster than your environment could reflect. Confusion often appears when inner growth outpaces external circumstances. You were shedding old beliefs while trying to function within their structure. You were uncovering new truths while still interpreting life through outdated expectations. This tension created a fog that made clarity feel distant. But now, something is shifting. The fog is thinning. Your mind is beginning to separate what belongs to you from what never did. You start distinguishing your true desires from the ones shaped by fear or past disappointment. You notice how certain goals no longer align with who you are becoming, and this realization brings relief instead of regret. Clarity doesn't arrive all at once. It develops through moments of recognition. You may suddenly understand a pattern that confused you for years. You might feel an old fear losing its influence. You may find yourself speaking with confidence in situations where you once felt uncertain. Each of these moments signals the arrival of clarity. You begin trusting your instincts again because they guide you with sharper precision. You recognize emotional triggers more quickly and respond with maturity rather than overwhelm. You identify relationships that strengthen your growth and release ones that cloud your peace. What once felt tangled now begins to feel ordered. Clarity also transforms how you see your past. You stop viewing old decisions as failures and instead see them as necessary steps that shape your awareness. You stop analyzing what went wrong and begin understanding what needed to be learned. This shift lifts a weight off your shoulders. It allows you to breathe more deeply, move more freely, and trust your direction more fully. As clarity rises, your choices become more intentional. You no longer move from impulse or insecurity. You move from understanding. And understanding stabilizes your spirit in a way confusion never could. This clarity is the beginning of a new chapter, one where you finally see yourself, your purpose, and your path with honesty and peace. There are questions you've held onto for years, questions about relationships, decisions, losses, opportunities, and even your own identity. Some of these questions created internal tension because the answers felt out of reach no matter how much you reflected or analyzed. You wondered why certain experiences unfolded the way they did, why your emotions reacted unpredictably at times, and why specific patterns kept repeating despite your best efforts to change them. The complexity of these questions often made you feel stuck. Yet now you are stepping into a season where complexity will begin to unravel into simplicity. Not because life will suddenly become effortless, but because your perspective is evolving. Your life has given you new lenses. What once felt overwhelming now feels understandable. What once seemed contradictory now aligns with deeper truths. You may notice how certain relationships that confuse you now reveal their actual dynamics. You recognize emotional wounds you once overlooked. You understand why certain decisions were difficult. They conflicted with your values, not your capability. You begin to see the motives behind others' actions without internalizing their behavior as your fault. This clarity simplifies what once felt tangled. You stop assigning yourself responsibility for situations you didn't create. You stop interpreting someone else's inconsistency as a reflection of your worth. You stop fighting battles that were never yours to fight. This shift doesn't make the past easier, but it makes it clearer. As confusion dissolves, you will also begin to understand your own heart with greater honesty. You recognize why certain dreams faded and why new ones emerged. You understand what drains you and what restores you. You see why certain environments felt heavy even when they looked good on the surface. This inner clarity simplifies your choices. You no longer need to force compatibility where it doesn't exist. You no longer question whether your intuition is accurate. You recognize its voice. Decisions that once felt paralyzing now feel manageable because you understand what you truly want and what aligns with your well-being. This simplicity is not shallow, it is mature. It comes from growth, self-awareness, and emotional healing. It frees you from mental heaviness and makes space for peace. As this unfolds, you will walk with greater confidence, move with greater intention, and trust your journey with greater ease. What once confused you will no longer hold power, because now you understand yourself, your path, and the truth with a clarity that has been building inside you for years. There are truths about your life, your relationships, your purpose, and even your own heart that stayed concealed from you, not because you were unworthy to know them, but because the timing of your understanding mattered. You may have sensed these hidden realities pressing against the edges of your awareness, like something waiting to break through the fog. Yet every time you reached for clarity, it seemed to retreat. Now, the veil is beginning to lift. What once felt too complex to interpret will soon reveal itself with striking simplicity. This shift does not come through intense effort. It comes through the quiet inner readiness you've been developing. The way you process emotion has changed. The way you evaluate people has matured. The way you handle disappointment has strengthened. These changes open the door for deeper insight. You will soon see dynamics in relationships that were once confusing. You'll understand why certain people acted the way they did. You'll identify motivations that were previously hidden beneath surface behavior. This doesn't mean you seek revenge or hold resentment. It means you finally have the clarity to release what needs to be released without guilt. Hidden truths about your own identity will also rise. You will notice talents, strengths, and capacities that were overshadowed by self-doubt. You'll realize that some of the things you criticize yourself for were actually signs of sensitivity, intuition, and emotional intelligence, not flaws. You will understand why your heart responded so strongly in certain seasons, and why you felt drawn to paths that others didn't understand. are connections between your past and your purpose that will come into focus. You may even recognize how certain dreams, desires, or longings were not random. They were invitations toward a life aligned with your deeper truth. This revelation brings peace, not pressure. You will also see hidden protection that operated without your awareness. Situations you once considered losses will reveal themselves as pathways you were never meant to walk. Misunderstandings that seemed painful will show their purpose. Closed doors will make sense because you will see what was behind them. This clarity brings emotional closure without requiring conversations that will never happen. You will release what weighed you down because now you understand why it couldn't remain in your life. Clarity transforms your internal landscape. It helps you move with confidence instead of hesitation. What was hidden is rising, not to overwhelm you, but to free you. There are areas of your life where progress felt painfully slow, dreams that seemed stuck, goals that refused to unfold, and desires that lingered in your spirit without expression. You questioned whether your timing was off, or whether you misread the direction altogether. You blamed yourself for delays you couldn't control, assuming your lack of progress meant you were unprepared or unworthy. Yet delays often protect what cannot flourish prematurely. They give you time to grow into the version of yourself capable of holding what you desire without losing balance. Now, something is shifting. Momentum is forming where stagnation once ruled. Situations that felt rigid or immovable will begin to open. Opportunities that were blocked will reappear in new forms. Relationships that felt strained will reveal pathways for healthier communication. Ideas that once felt scattered will come together with clarity. This acceleration is not chaotic. It is measured. It reflects your readiness. You have developed emotional steadiness that prevents you from rushing into situations that drain your energy. You have cultivated discernment that allows you to recognize alignment quickly. You have gained confidence that empowers you to say yes to what supports your growth and no to what undermines it. As momentum builds, you may feel a mixture of excitement and caution. This is natural. Change, even desirable change, activates parts of you that still remember past disappointments. Yet this season is different because you are different. The momentum is not pulling you into instability, it is guiding you into clarity. This acceleration also affects how you pursue your purpose. You are no longer operating from confusion or insecurity. You understand what you want and why. You recognize the environments that nurture your potential. You are more confident in expressing your ideas, your values, and your needs. This confidence becomes magnetic. It draws opportunities toward you because you are no longer hiding parts of yourself. As momentum builds, you will step into situations that once intimidated you with a sense of groundedness. You will trust yourself more deeply. You will feel a renewed sense of direction that aligns seamlessly with your spirit. What was delayed is no longer waiting, it is unfolding. There were seasons when you felt surrounded by an invisible heaviness, a fog that clouded your direction and blurred the edges of your confidence. You struggled to hear your intuition clearly. You questioned whether you were making the right choices. You tried to move forward, but everything felt hazy and uncertain, as if you were walking through a landscape without landmarks. This fog was not a punishment. It was a protective cocoon, preventing you from rushing into decisions before the fullness of your understanding arrived. Now, you are stepping into a season where that heaviness is dissolving. Your internal landscape is becoming brighter, sharper, easier to interpret. The thoughts that once tangled into confusion are straightening. Emotions that overwhelmed you are now approaching with clarity. Situations that once felt complicated are revealing simple truths beneath them. As this fog lifts, your intuition strengthens. You begin sensing direction with greater accuracy. You recognize subtle signs that guide your decisions. You discern between fear and instinct, between emotional noise and genuine guidance. This clarity helps you trust yourself in ways you struggled to before. You no longer rely on external validation to confirm what your spirit already knows. You understand your own voice, and this understanding becomes a guiding force. Your vision also becomes clearer in terms of purpose. You start identifying themes in your life that point toward your calling. You notice passions reawakening, not because someone else encouraged them, but because they reflect who you are at your core. You see how your past experiences prepared you with skills you didn't appreciate fully. You realize that your sensitivity is insight, your compassion is strength, your resilience is leadership. These revelations shape how you see yourself and your future. This clarity also influences your relationships. You will recognize who genuinely supports your growth and who subtly drains your energy. You will see emotional patterns more accurately, preventing you from repeating cycles that once left you exhausted. You will trust your boundaries not out of fear but out of wisdom. As the fog lifts, your spirit feels lighter. Decisions become easier. Peace becomes accessible. You begin moving through life with a sense of alignment that feels natural rather than forced. This new clarity is not temporary. It is the beginning of a steadier, more confident version of you. There were environments, relationships, and routines where you tried to convince yourself you were content, even though something deep inside you resisted. At the time, you interpreted that restlessness as impatience, insecurity, or a flaw in your ability to adapt. Yet the truth is much simpler. Your spirit sensed misalignment long before your mind understood it. You tried to quiet that inner stirring by forcing yourself to adjust, by trying harder, by lowering your expectations, or by compromising parts of your identity just to maintain peace. Still, the discomfort persisted. This restlessness was not a defect in you. It was guidance. It was the internal evidence that something within your environment did not match who you were becoming. You may not have had the language to articulate it, but your spirit recognized subtle inconsistencies, the emotional tension that lingered after certain interactions, the exhaustion that followed commitments that once brought joy, the heaviness that settled in your chest when you imagined staying in the same place too long. These signals were your inner compass trying to redirect you gently. Soon, you will understand why that restlessness was necessary. It protected you from settling into spaces that would have limited your voice or restricted your growth. It prevented you from building long-term roots in soil that could not nourish your identity. You were not meant to stay in places where you had to shrink to fit or silence your truth to avoid conflict. A discomfort nudged you toward environments where your presence could expand rather than contract. It pushed you toward connections where you would be valued instead of tolerated. It pulled you away from paths that looked stable but lacked depth. As clarity rises, you will see how the restlessness prepared you for transitions that once seemed abrupt. You'll recognize that your spirit always knew what your future required, even when you were unsure. You will see how each moment of discomfort made you stronger, braver, and more honest about your needs. This awareness will shift your relationship with yourself. Instead of judging your sensitivity, you begin honoring it. Instead of ignoring discomfort, you learn to interpret its message. Instead of forcing alignment where it doesn't exist, you trust your internal signals. Restlessness was never a punishment, it was a compass. And soon, it will become one of the clearest signs guiding you into the life that finally fits your spirit. There were paths you tried to pursue, relationships you attempted to save, and situations you put effort into maintaining, yet despite your dedication, things slowly unraveled. It felt discouraging, even unfair, to pour yourself into something only to watch it weaken without clear explanation. You may have assumed you failed, or that you lacked the strength to sustain what was slipping away. But the deeper truth is emerging now. You were being pulled away from circumstances that could not grow with you. Growth requires space. It requires people capable of evolving emotionally, spiritually, and mentally at a pace that aligns with your development. Many of the connections you fought for were not equipped to meet you in your new season. Some were rooted in who you used to be, versions of you shaped by insecurity, fear, or limited self-awareness. As you grew beyond those versions, the relationships built upon them struggled to remain intact. This is not a criticism of the people who faded from your life. It is an acknowledgement that not every bond is meant to carry you through every stage. Some connections were designed for earlier chapters. They helped you learn, adapt, or discover parts of yourself. But as your perspective widened, the structure of those relationships could not stretch to hold the new depth emerging within you. Attention created emotional distance, miscommunication, or misunderstanding, not because anyone lacked care, but because capacity and compatibility shifted. Once you begin to see this, grief transforms into understanding. You recognize that losing connections that cannot grow with you is not rejection. It is release. And make space for relationships rooted in emotional maturity, mutual support, and authenticity. You will also notice this shift in environments. Certain jobs, commitments, or responsibilities once felt stable but now feel restrictive. This is a sign that your purpose is expanding beyond what those roles can provide. Your growth is not a threat, it is a sign of readiness. When you are being pulled away from what cannot grow with you, it often feels like tension. But that tension is movement. It is transition. It is the gentle liberation of your spirit from environments that cannot carry your future. As this truth settles in, your heart gains peace. You stop resisting endings that were part of your evolution. You start trusting the pull forward, knowing that growth will always lead you toward what aligns with your true identity. There is a level of clarity approaching that will illuminate your past in ways you could never achieve through effort alone. You spent years trying to interpret your experiences, why certain relationships felt heavy, why specific opportunities slipped away, why your heart reacted so strongly in particular seasons. You analyzed your choices, replayed events, and searched for meaning in conversations that left emotional marks on your spirit. Yet the answers remained just out of reach. This was not because you lacked insight. It was because understanding often requires time, distance, and emotional maturity. As you grow, your perspective expands. You begin recognizing patterns that were invisible before. You see how certain decisions shaped your resilience. You understand how losses protected you. You realize how delays refined your character. The clarity that is rising now will help each piece fall into place. This understanding will not come with heaviness. It will come with relief. You will feel weight lifting off areas of your heart that carried confusion for too long. You will stop blaming yourself for situations that unfolded in ways you couldn't control. You will begin to see how your life's direction was being shaped even when you felt lost. Clarity also reveals your own growth. You notice how differently you respond to situations that once triggered fear or insecurity. You see how your boundaries have strengthened, how your voice has matured, and how your discernment has sharpened. This awareness helps you appreciate the internal transformation that was happening beneath the surface. Your relationships will also become easier to understand. You'll recognize why certain people were meant for specific chapters but not for the long haul. You'll understand what each connection taught you, whether about courage, patience, self-worth, or resilience. Clarity doesn't erase pain, but it reframes it. It gives meaning to what once felt meaningless. It offers closure without needing explanations from others. It allows you to carry gratitude instead of confusion. As clarity becomes your companion, your confidence will grow. You'll trust your instincts more. You'll embrace opportunities without the fear that used to cloud your decisions. You'll walk with assurance, knowing that your past was not a series of mistakes. It was preparation. Every season, every shift, every detour contributed to the wisdom you now carry. And soon, you will see it all with a depth that brings peace to your heart and direction to your future. There were seasons when you tried to convince yourself that what you had was enough, even though something deep within you kept whispering that more existed for your life. You pushed those whispers aside because they made you uncomfortable. They challenged you to step beyond familiarity, to question patterns you had learned to live with, and to confront truths you were afraid to acknowledge. But now you will begin to understand why your heart could no longer settle in places that did not reflect who you were becoming. Your restlessness didn't appear because you were ungrateful. It appeared because your spirit recognized what your circumstances were refusing to give you: growth, peace, authenticity, and alignment. You felt this long before you had the language to describe it. Every time your heart tugged you away from cycles that weighed you down, that was not confusion. It was awakening. It was a quiet announcement that you were outgrowing environments that once fit you but no longer nourished your identity. This realization will bring relief. You will stop blaming yourself for wanting something deeper, healthier, and more reflective of your potential. You will understand that your discomfort was guidance, not instability. Your heart wasn't rejecting good things. It was resisting limitations. It refused to remain attached to relationships that could not meet you at the level you were ready to live. It refused to stay in routines that silenced your creativity. It refused to normalize responsibility without joy or consistency without growth. Your longing for more was not selfish. It was intuitive. Your spirit sensed expansion long before you knew how to prepare for it. This inner shift pushed you to become more honest with yourself. You learned what your heart needed, what your boundaries required, and what your future deserved. Soon, you will look back at the places you tried to stay and notice how small they feel compared to the person you are becoming. You will see how much of yourself you would have had to shrink in order to remain comfortable. You will recognize that your longing for something deeper was not a random emotional lake. It was a sign that your next chapter held more than you were allowing yourself to imagine. This clarity will empower you to protect your peace with confidence. You will stop apologizing for desiring alignment. You will trust your heart's signals instead of silencing them. And as this happens, your life will begin to open in ways that finally match the depth you carry inside. Your heart refused to settle because it knew what was waiting for you. Without even realizing it, you have been developing a level of discernment that is now becoming one of your greatest strengths. This discernment didn't appear suddenly. It formed through experiences that sharpened your intuition, through disappointments that forced you to see people more clearly, and through seasons where you had no choice but to trust the quiet inner voice guiding you. There were times when you doubted this instinct because it clashed with your hopes. You tried to give people the benefit of the doubt even when your spirit sensed misalignment. You tried to stay in situations long after your peace had left. But each time you ignored your discernment, life revealed why that inner signal had tried to warn you. These moments strengthened something in you, your ability to recognize truth without needing dramatic evidence. Your ability to sense when a path supports your growth versus when it drains your spirit. Your ability to differentiate between genuine connection and emotional dependency. Now this discernment is rising within you with unmistakable clarity. You will begin noticing how quickly you read situations that once confused you. You'll understand emotional dynamics that used to leave you feeling unsettled. You will identify patterns in people's behavior without internalizing their actions as your fault. This shift frees you from the weight of overthinking. It prevents you from attaching yourself to situations that cannot support your future. It protects your energy before damage occurs. And it guides you toward connections that match your authenticity. This inner clarity will make you harsh. It will make you wise. You will not close your heart. You will simply open it in the right places. Discernment will also influence your decisions about opportunity. You will know when to step forward and when to wait. You will trust timing rather than force outcomes. You will feel peace in decisions that once felt overwhelming. And because you are no longer operating from fear, your choices will align with purpose rather than pressure. This shift will feel like stepping into a new level of maturity, one where your intuition and your understanding work together rather than against each other. You will move through life with confidence rooted not in perfection, but in awareness. You are not the same person who once questioned every instinct. Your discernment is now a compass, and it will guide you into your next season with clarity and strength. There was a time when you accepted relationships out of fear of being alone, or because you didn't fully understand your worth, or because you believed that emotional inconsistency was normal as long as affection was present. But now you are stepping into a season where your heart is being prepared for connections that align with your emotional maturity, your values, and your purpose. You'll begin to notice how your expectations are changing, not because you are becoming demanding or unrealistic, but because you finally understand what healthy connection looks like. You recognize that you deserve reciprocity, emotional clarity, shared responsibility, and genuine care. Your heart no longer finds comfort in relationships that offer unpredictable affection. It no longer tolerates inconsistency disguised as passion. It no longer bends itself to fit into spaces where your voice is not valued. This evolution is not bitterness, it is healing. It is the result of learning yourself deeply enough to stop settling for relationships that dim your spirit. As you grow, you will find yourself naturally drawn to connections that offer stability and emotional safety. You will be able to recognize sincerity without second-guessing it. You will identify manipulation without internalizing guilt. You will sense authenticity and respond to it with openness instead of fear. Your heart is learning the difference between attention and intention. It is learning how to trust slowly without shutting down. It is learning how to give without losing itself. These shifts make room for relationships that nourish you instead of draining you. They prepare you for partnerships, romantic, platonic, and even professional, that support the fullness of who you are. This preparation also means you will lose tolerance for emotional games, unspoken expectations, and unclear motives. It will feel easier to walk away from situations that once held you emotionally hostage. You will stop trying to explain your worth to people who refuse to see it. You will start gravitating toward people who communicate honestly, who show consistency, and who respect your emotional boundaries. This shift is not accidental. Your heart is being shaped for connections that match your growth, not your past wounds. And as these new connections enter your life, you will realize that nothing you lost was a punishment. It was preparation for relationships that will finally feel like home. There is a shift unfolding inside you that you may not fully recognize yet, a subtle loosening of inner tension that once drove your decisions, shaped your reactions, and weighed down your spirit. For years, you lived with a restlessness that made peace feel like a temporary visitor rather than a steady companion. Even when your circumstances were calm, your mind remained alert, almost bracing for the next disruption. This was not because you were flawed. It was because your heart had learned to survive more than it had learned to rest. But now, something deeper is happening. You are being prepared for a level of peace that no longer depends on everything around you being perfect. This peace grows from the maturity you've gained, the clarity you've developed, and the emotional healing that has taken root within you. It is not naive. It is grounded. It understands reality yet chooses to remain centered rather than reactive. As this peace forms, you may notice yourself responding differently to situations that once overwhelmed you. Conversations that used to trigger anxiety now feel manageable. Uncertainty that once caused panic now invites patience. Even your thoughts begin to quiet because you no longer chase every fear that rises. This peace becomes a protective layer around your heart. It keeps you from giving your energy to people who feed on chaos or confusion. It helps you step back from situations that drain your spirit. It teaches you how to identify which responsibilities are truly yours and which burdens you were never meant to carry. As peace strengthens, you start feeling comfortable in your own presence, whether or not anyone else understands your journey. You make decisions with less hesitation because you trust your alignment. You engage in relationships with more honesty because you're no longer afraid of losing yourself. This transformation doesn't erase hardship, but it changes how hardship affects you. Instead of being consumed by emotional storms, you navigate them with awareness, clarity, and steady breath. Soon, you will recognize that this peace is not fragile. It cannot be taken from you by someone else's opinion, by temporary setbacks, or by past wounds trying to resurface. This peace is a presence within you that has grown through resilience. It is the result of learning yourself deeply, honoring your boundaries, and releasing what did not nourish you. You are being prepared for a life where peace becomes your foundation, not the exception, but the rhythm your heart finally feels ready to live in. There was a time when confidence felt foreign to you, like something you had to manufacture rather than something that grew from within. You tried to appear strong, composed, and unshakable, even when your heart trembled behind closed doors. You doubted your decisions, questioned your worth, and often looked to others for reassurance you didn't know how to give yourself. But now, after everything you have walked through, your confidence is beginning to rise in a way that feels natural. It isn't loud. It isn't performative. It emerges quietly, like the steady lift of the sun at dawn. This confidence comes from the truth you've discovered about yourself, that you are capable, that you are resilient, and that you have survived enough to know your value without needing constant reminders. Soon, you will notice how this confidence influences your everyday choices. You will speak with more clarity because you trust your own voice. You will set boundaries without over-explaining yourself. You will pursue opportunities without assuming you're underqualified. You will walk into rooms without shrinking your presence or comparing your worth to anyone else. This confidence does not make you arrogant. It makes you aligned. It replaces insecurity with intention. It frees you from second-guessing what your spirit already knows is right. You will begin to honor your strengths rather than downplay them. You will take your ideas seriously instead of dismissing them. You will stop hiding your abilities to make others comfortable. Confidence also reshapes your relationships. You will no longer tolerate being treated as an option or an afterthought. You will recognize when someone's inconsistency is a reflection of their own struggles rather than your inadequacy. You will choose connections that reciprocate your effort and respect your identity. This confidence empowers you to leave cycles that once trapped you. It encourages you to protect your energy. It helps you trust that the right people will be drawn to your authenticity, not to a version of you shaped by fear. This season of rising confidence will feel different from anything you've experienced. You won't have to force it. You won't have to pretend. You won't have to prove anything. The confidence emerging now is rooted in honesty, healing, and self-awareness. It fits you because it grew with you. And as it strengthens, you will walk forward with a steady sense of identity that can no longer be shaken by external opinions or internal doubt. You may not fully realize how deeply you have healed, because healing rarely announces itself with a dramatic moment. It reveals itself gradually, in the softness returning to your voice, in the steadiness settling into your thoughts, and in the way your heart no longer reacts to old triggers with the same intensity. You spent years carrying wounds that shaped how you loved, how you trusted, how you made decisions, and how you saw yourself. Those wounds made you cautious, guarded, and sometimes fearful of opening your heart too widely. But healing has been taking place beneath the surface, layer by layer, until now you stand on the edge of a new emotional landscape, one where your decisions are guided by clarity rather than survival. This healing will influence how you love. You will stop clinging to relationships out of fear of being alone. You will stop accepting emotional crumbs in place of genuine connection. You will begin to love with boundaries, honesty, and depth, not from desperation, but from wholeness. You will recognize when someone's presence truly aligns with your spirit, and you will no longer chase after those who cannot meet you with sincerity. This healing also shapes how you speak to yourself. You will notice a gentleness in your inner dialogue. You will become patient with your own growth. You will stop criticizing yourself for not knowing in the past what you understand now. Healing also transforms how you choose. You will no longer make decisions based solely on fear or comfort. You will choose opportunities that ignite your purpose rather than numb your uncertainty. You will choose environments where your voice is valued. You will choose rest without guilt. You will choose relationships that honor your emotional depth. You will choose to protect your peace because you finally understand its value. And in all these choices, you will feel the quiet assurance that you are finally becoming the version of yourself your past pain tried to suppress. Your healing has not only changed your heart, it has changed the way you walk through the world. You are stepping into life no longer defined by what hurt you, but refined by what you learned. And now, everything ahead of you will look different because you are different. There is a rising within you that has nothing to do with force and everything to do with awakening. And I want you to pay attention to it because it is revealing a depth of strength you never realized was inside you. You carrying burdens that stretched your endurance far beyond what you thought possible. You navigated moments where your emotions felt scattered, where the weight of uncertainty pressed on your chest like an anchor. And yet you kept moving, sometimes slowly, sometimes through tears, sometimes with shaking hands, but you move. That movement was strength. It wasn't loud. It didn't demand recognition. It grew quietly inside you while you thought you were just trying to survive. Now, as clarity increases and your spirit steadies, you will begin to feel that strength rising in ways that shape the choices you make, the boundaries you set, and the opportunities you pursue. You will see it in the conversations where you finally speak without fear of rejection. You will sense it in the moments when you walk away from situations that once trapped you emotionally. You will recognize it when you respond to disappointment with steadiness instead of panic. Strength is no longer something you wish for. It has become the natural rhythm of your identity. This strength is changing the way you interpret your past. Instead of viewing painful chapters as evidence of your weakness, you begin seeing how those chapters form the inner resilience you now carry. The difficulties you endured gave you emotional endurance. The betrayals taught you discernment. The seasons of scarcity expanded your gratitude. The moments of heartbreak deepened your compassion. Nothing was wasted. Everything shaped you. And now, with this new strength, you will stop walking through life as if you are fragile. You will stop shrinking yourself to avoid conflict. You will stop doubting your ability to handle transitions. The strength growing within you is not temporary. It is maturity. It is the substance of your spirit expanding beyond previous limitations. Soon, this strength will guide you into decisions that align with your purpose. You will sense the difference between what drains you and what develops you. You will feel confident stepping into opportunities that once intimidated you. You will trust the path ahead even when you cannot see every detail. Strength does not remove uncertainty. It changes how you carry it. Instead of being overwhelmed, you will feel anchored. Instead of being afraid, you will feel ready. Instead of struggling to hold yourself together, you will move with a calm internal authority that comes from knowing you have already survived more than you ever expected. The strength you are stepping into is not borrowed. It is yours. There was a time when your internal signals felt faint, buried beneath layers of stress, obligation, fear, or emotional noise from the people around you. You tried to listen, but everything inside you felt tangled, and even when your intuition whispered guidance, doubt overshadowed it. Yet now something subtle is shifting. Your inner landscape is becoming clearer, your awareness sharper, and your spiritual hearing more sensitive. You are learning to recognize the quiet signals that used to slip past you unnoticed. These signals appear as sudden clarity in moments of confusion, as discomfort in situations you need to step away from, as peace in choices that align with your growth, and as a steady nudge when you need to move forward. They do not shout. They do not overwhelm. They rise gently, like the soft glow of dawn touching the horizon, and now your spirit is sensitive enough to perceive them. The sensitivity is not weakness. It is wisdom. It shows that you are no longer living reactively. You are moving with intention. You are beginning to understand the difference between emotional impulse and spiritual intuition. Emotional impulse speaks from fear, urgency, or insecurity, but spiritual intuition speaks from truth, calm, grounded, and consistent. As your awareness deepens, you will notice how often your intuition had been guiding you even in past seasons. You will recognize how it tried to protect you from relationships that lacked sincerity, from commitments that would have drained your energy, from decisions that did not match your identity. Now that you have grown, those same signals will feel clearer, stronger, and easier to trust. This increasing clarity affects how you navigate the world. You will recognize opportunities not by how appealing they look, but by how right they feel. You will notice emotional red flags long before they become wounds. You will sense when someone's words contradict their intentions. You will feel a quiet alignment when a decision matches your deeper purpose. This awareness shapes your confidence. It helps you stop second-guessing yourself. It strengthens your boundaries. It calms your mind. You begin to trust your spirit deeply enough to follow its guidance without apology. And as this trust grows, your life becomes more aligned, your relationships more meaningful, and your path more intentional. There comes a moment in every journey when a quiet truth rises to the surface. Not everything from your past is allowed to accompany you into your future. You are reaching that moment now. You can feel the subtle separation happening inside you, a gentle awareness that certain patterns, old fears, emotional habits, and even some relationships no longer belong in the next stage of your life. This realization does not come from resentment or disappointment. It emerges from clarity. You have grown beyond what once captured your attention. You have healed wounds that once dictated your behavior. You have outgrown the need for validation from people who never understood the depth of who you are. You no longer desire environments where you must negotiate your worth. This awareness does not feel harsh. It feels honest. Your spirit is simply acknowledging that your future requires a healthier emotional landscape than your past could provide. As this awareness deepens, you will notice subtle shifts in your behavior. You will lose interest in conversations that revolve around negativity or conflict. You will feel emotionally distant from relationships that thrive on inconsistency. You will recognize cycles you once tolerated and now instinctively avoid. Your boundaries will strengthen not out of anger, but out of maturity. You will choose peace over familiarity when the two no longer coexist. You will choose growth over comfort when comfort attempts to hold you back. You will choose alignment over obligation when obligation demands too much of your spirit. This shift is not selfish, it is necessary. Every new chapter demands a shedding of old patterns. Every new level of identity asks you to release what drains your strength. As you move forward, your heart will understand why certain people could not stay connected, why specific opportunities had to end, and why inner habits that once felt protective now feel restrictive. This clarity does not erase memories, but it reframes them. You begin seeing that letting go is not loss, it is preparation. It creates space for relationships that support your growth. It makes room for opportunities that match your purpose. It allows your emotions to breathe without the weight of unnecessary attachments. And it positions you to receive what your spirit has been preparing for. You are learning to recognize what cannot follow you into your future, and this recognition will shape your path with wisdom, peace, and courage. There were situations, relationships, and emotional patterns in your life that quietly drained your energy long before you recognized their impact. And now you are entering a season where you will finally understand why those connections could not continue. You may have spent years trying to adapt, trying to maintain peace, or trying to convince yourself that the weight you were carrying was normal. You convinced yourself that you were strong enough to endure it, patient enough to navigate it, or compassionate enough to excuse it. Yet deep inside, you felt a gradual erosion of your spirit, a heaviness that settled into your thoughts, a fatigue that sleep could never repair. This draining wasn't always obvious. It came through subtle pressure, being the emotional support for people who never supported you, holding responsibilities that were never meant to be yours, or carrying expectations that suffocated your creativity and joy. You didn't know how much of your spirit was being consumed because you were too focused on surviving, too focused on keeping things together, and too committed to being the steady one in environments where others depended heavily on your strength. Now, something within you is awakening. You are starting to feel the difference between peace and exhaustion. You're beginning to notice how your body responds when you're around certain people. You feel the tension that rises when a cycle you once tolerated tries to pull you back in. You sense the emotional heaviness that certain environments place on your heart. And with this awareness, your spirit is gently pulling you away from what no longer sustains you. This separation is not about judgment. It is about preservation. It is about protecting your emotional landscape so that you can grow without being drained at every turn. You are learning that your energy is sacred, that your presence is valuable, and that your strength is not meant to be poured endlessly into places that offer nothing nourishing in return. As you continue moving forward, you will see this separation bringing clarity. You will understand why some conversations began to feel heavier, why certain commitments felt suffocating, and why your spirit kept urging you toward space, rest, and silence. This shift will allow you to breathe again, to think clearly, and to reconnect with the parts of yourself you had to suppress just to survive. Soon, you will realize that what you once labeled as loyalty was often self-abandonment. You were giving more than your heart could replenish. This new separation is not a loss. It is restoration. It is the protection of your future self. It is the strengthening of your identity. It is the beginning of a life no longer dominated by what drains you but shaped by what nourishes you. There is a subtle shift happening within you, an internal stirring that you can feel even on the days when you cannot explain it. You sense something changing. You feel emotions rising for reasons you don't fully understand. You notice yourself outgrowing certain habits, distancing yourself from familiar patterns, and craving deeper meaning even when life appears routine. This is not confusion. It is transition. Your spirit is moving ahead of your mind, preparing you for a new chapter long before your logic can interpret what is happening. You might find yourself feeling more sensitive to things that never bothered you before. You may feel detached from conversations that once energized you or uninterested in behaviors that once felt comfortable. These shifts are indicators that your identity is evolving. Your spirit recognizes what your future requires, and it is gently urging your mind to release what cannot accompany you into this next stage. This transition creates a unique kind of tension, an inner pulling that can feel both exciting and unsettling. You might feel drawn towards something unknown while simultaneously grieving what you're leaving behind. This emotional conflict is natural. It simply means you are standing in the threshold between who you were and who you are becoming. Your spirit is ready, but your mind is still adjusting to the idea that things cannot continue the way they once did. You may find yourself questioning whether you're making the right choices, whether you're moving too fast, or whether you're prepared for change. But this questioning is a sign that your mind is catching up, trying to make sense of what your spirit already knows. The beauty of this season is that you don't have to force clarity. You don't have to have every answer ready. You don't have to rush into certainty. You only need to trust the internal shift happening within you. Soon, your emotions will align with your direction. Your thoughts will align with your purpose. Your decisions will align with your future. You will look back at this moment and realize that your spirit was guiding you in wisdom, preparing you for a chapter filled with alignment, deeper fulfillment, and inner steadiness. Your mind may still be grasping for stability, but your spirit is already standing in the next room. And soon, everything within you will unite in clarity and purpose. There is a transformation happening within you that is so profound, you may not even fully recognize yourself in the months ahead. And that is not something to fear, it is something to welcome. You are shedding layers you've carried for years, expectations that weren't yours, emotional burdens you inherited unconsciously, versions of yourself shaped by survival rather than truth. For so long, you lived according to who you needed to be for others, who you had to be for your circumstances, or who you thought you were allowed to become. But now, the deepest parts of you are rising, the parts that were silenced, overshadowed, or buried beneath responsibilities and fear. This emergence may feel unfamiliar because you are not reverting to an old version of yourself. You are becoming someone entirely new. Someone healed. Someone aware. Someone grounded. Someone connected to a sense of identity that is no longer defined by pain or pressure. This new version of you is forming through clarity you've gained from your past experiences. You have learned what drains you and what restores you. You've recognized what patterns you refuse to repeat. You've discovered what your heart truly desires and what your soul cannot tolerate. These insights are shaping a new blueprint for your life, one that reflects authenticity rather than obligation. As this transformation unfolds, you may find yourself speaking differently, thinking differently, choosing differently. You might feel drawn toward things that once felt out of reach or uninterested in things that once seemed important. This is not inconsistency, it is growth. It is alignment. It is the natural evolution of someone who is becoming more honest with themselves. This new version of you carries a calm strength, a clear voice, a steady presence. You are no longer defined by your wounds. You are guided by your wisdom. You will notice yourself setting boundaries without guilt, expressing your truth without fear, and walking away from cycles without hesitation. The emotional reactions that once controlled you will lose their hold. The insecurities that once shaped your choices will silence. The confusion that once clouded your path will dissipate. You are not losing yourself, you are meeting yourself, possibly for the first time. And the person emerging from this transformation is someone your past self always hoped to become but didn't yet know how to reach. This is the version of you that your future has been waiting for. Everything you have walked through, every struggle, every transition, every moment of clarity and confusion, has been guiding you toward a life that you were always meant to experience. This life is not based on perfection or fantasy. It is rooted in alignment, peace, and authenticity. For a long time, you felt as though you were preparing for something you could not define. You sensed movement without seeing direction. You felt growth without understanding the destination. But now the fog is clearing, and the life that has been patiently waiting for you is coming into view. This life carries the stability you longed for, the emotional intimacy you were created for, and the sense of purpose that once felt distant. It is a life where your boundaries are respected, your voice is valued, your heart is safe, and your spirit is free. This next chapter will feel different because you are entering it as someone wiser, stronger, and more connected to your truth than ever before. You no longer seek validation from sources that cannot provide it. You no longer chase what does not align. You no longer force yourself into roles that diminish your spirit. Instead, you move with intentionality. You choose based on clarity. You protect what matters. And as you walk into this new chapter, you will notice opportunities aligning more naturally. Relationships forming with ease. Doors opening that once remained closed. Not because life is suddenly effortless, but because you are aligned. You are no longer resisting the pull of your purpose. You are no longer distracted by what cannot nourish you. You are stepping into a life that matches the person you have become. This life has been waiting for your healing, your awakening, your courage, and your clarity. It has been waiting for you to trust yourself enough to release what held you back, to walk away from what wounded you, and to say yes to what resonates with your spirit. And now, you are ready. You are stepping into the life that was meant for you, not the life shaped by fear, not the life shaped by survival, but the life shaped by truth. Everything up to this point has prepared you for what comes next, and what comes next will feel like finally coming home to yourself. Amen.